Hello. Hello. Okay. For real this time. I'll give you this gameplay to keep you interested. How's it going, River? I can actually see your message in my chat feed this time. How's it going? iCraw or Lcraw? Oh, Lcraw. How's it going? Yeah, I'm back. Okay. So I don't know why I put this gameplay here for no particular reason other than I played this week, and I played this week because this is one of the previous Steam games from Stephen Lavelle, who I've played like a ton of his puzzle script games and like little browser games and stuff, but he had a couple like I've known for a long time that he had a couple other games on Steam that I hadn't tried out, and I tried out both of them this week since I will be playing his new game, Oof, which is a platformer where you control an egg, a 3D platformer where you are an egg, which looks cool. And anyway, this is Mask Quest, and this is basically I basically just wanted to recommend this if you like action platformers and you would like an action platformer that is much more unique than any other action platformer I can think of. Like, I don't know, it just really struck me. Like, I guess I'm not super big on this genre, but because I don't know, I didn't particularly love it, even though I don't really have like big complaints about the game. It just didn't do that much for me, and I feel like that's the case usually when I play action platformers. But yeah, I liked a lot of things about it. I think the level design was pretty varied and interesting and went a lot of places. But yeah, the main thing that struck me is just like certain genres just don't certain genres just don't get experimentation in the same way as for example, you know, puzzle games. Like you look at Sokoban puzzle games, and you know, something like this level of like originality and mechanics would be completely unremarkable, but somehow in an action platformer it's like, whoa, like there's a completely different mechanic that I've never seen before, which, you know, it makes sense because well, I've talked about this before, like in puzzle games you really need originality, right? I was talking about this in my Where's My Egg review recently, but like you can't really do a puzzle game that doesn't have new mechanics or some kind of new ideas. I guess some people really like just doing slight variations on puzzles that they've solved before, but I don't. I think most people don't. You know, I was saying that like Baba Is You is like the biggest breakout hit puzzle game of the last however long for a reason, which is that it's like the most strikingly unique concept that we've seen in a long time in puzzle games. Anyway, yeah, you have this concept where you have to breathe manually. So yeah, you are doing normal kind of action platformery stuff. I mean, at first it kind of seems like just an avoidance platformer, not so much like action. Like action platformer, when I say that, you think like I'm throwing daggers or I'm, you know, I'm fighting back in some way. But at first you kind of think you're just avoiding stuff, but then like the breathing starts to have effects, or at least you start to realize that the breathing has effects on has like interactions with a lot of the gameplay elements that you may not have initially expected. So yeah, I thought this was a really cool game, worth recommending in case anyone thinks this is up their alley. Yeah, like I said, maybe not totally up my alley, but maybe not like 100% up my alley, but I did play it through to the end and tried out hard mode a little bit. So yeah, this is a cool game. How's it going, Aloe? How's it going, Don? You are now breathing manually, or you are not breathing manually. I'm not sure if you meant to meant to type it that way or not. Is the breathing like a stamina bar? Yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. And I would say that I would say the breathing is like nothing else, and the CO2 is actually like a stamina bar. The breathing is like I really enjoyed manipulating these guys. Sometimes it was annoying. Anyway, you know, when you're breathing, like sometimes you want to breathe a lot all at once, and the CO2 bar exists to prevent you from doing that. Your CO2 will get too low if you're just like, you know, hyperventilating, and then you'll die of hyperventilation. I think this is where I first realized that you can actually, well, yeah. Maybe I'll stop. Maybe I'll stop showing this now before I spoil specific interactions. But yeah, so I think the CO2 is more like a stamina bar. It's like preventing you from doing a particular action too much within a short time frame. You have to wait for it to regenerate. But yeah. Yeah, so I've been like preparing these specific rants for these streams, right? I've been like you know, just kind of thinking about topics that interest me and preparing a specific rant to go on. This week I was kind of sick and I didn't want to do that. I ended up writing some things that I'll use like next week or something, but yeah, I didn't want to do something high effort for this one. Well, high effort in terms of preparation and like making sure I'm ready to say what I want to say. So what we're gonna do is I have prepared. Wait, let me switch. I have prepared a list of 100 puzzle or puzzle adjacent games that I have played a significant amount of. And we're going to attempt to tier list them. Wait. We gotta get the you gotta have an F tier, right? Wait, can you? I feel like I should change the colors, but that's too high effort. You know, this is what I'm saying. This is a low prep effort stream. But first, I did have a few other things pulled up to that I wanted to talk about. So, and as always, if you have hot topics or whatever that you wanna that are on your mind, feel free to bring them up. Make a Calvino tier? I've only read like a few Calvinos. What have I read? I've read If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, I've read Invisible Cities, and I've read The Non-Existent Night and Cloven Viscount. So I guess I've read 4. S tier. Oh, make a Calvino tier. Okay. I don't know how relevant. Do I dare click this link? I will click it and open it in my wait. Jack Crawford live? This is so crazy. Okay. You guys can click that link if you want to. But yeah, since I'm thinking about it now, S tier would be Invisible Cities and If on a Winter's Night. And I don't know. I read the other ones like in high school. Maybe I'm not prepared to slot those in, but I feel like they'd be in like A or B tier. They'd probably be in like B tier. No one's Googling. Everyone just clicks links. No one Googles things. Anyway, I just thought this was interesting. Sega says strong reviews for its recent games aren't yet translating to better sales. This just stuck out to me because I just wonder if they understand the environment that they're operating in. Yo, Sigma, thanks for the 13 months. Oh, well, in the Discord, you should be able to right click my name. That's how I always assume. But I should probably link it. I should probably link it in the future. Here, I'll go ahead and link it now. Let's see. Copy link. Yeah, I should link things. Anyway, yeah, I just wonder if they understand the environment that they're operating in, right? Because you know, this just seems very like 10 plus years ago type of. Okay, well it does on my screen, Adam. This is just a very 10 plus years ago type of vibe where, you know, Metacritic used to matter a lot. Like that used to be the way that you sell games is you make sure you have a really high Metacritic score and you like do weird manipulative things with the review outlets to ensure that they want to give you a really high score and that they, you know, you maybe like try to and you invite them to like an event where like all the reviewers come and play the game together in a really short time span and stuff like that. Like that is you know, it's trying to manipulate the scores. Um that's not really I don't know how much people care about Metacritic anymore. Like I do see these accounts on Twitter still, these kind of big accounts that are like one of their big engagement bait things is like here's all the Metacritic scores of this in this franchise. You know, they'll just aggregate a bunch of Metacritic scores for different games and slap them together in a big image and try to get discussion happening about that. But I think that might just be like a engagement bait type of, you know, a good way to get discussion started. I don't necessarily think that Metacritic scores are affecting sales nearly as much as they used to. And yeah, I'm just well Matthew Matosis I think I saw that he streamed last night actually. Or maybe that was the night before. Anyway. Actually, yeah, I should mention that. I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that. Gotta have a hook for the Matthew Matosis fans in the audience. I'll get back to that. So now you have to keep watching so that you'll hear what I'm gonna say about that. Metacritic is just a rage bait site now. Yeah, yeah, maybe. Games are about virality now. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if I can succinctly articulate what does sell copies now. Um, it's you know it's a lot of different things. It's not exactly simple, but yeah, and like part of this, if I recall correctly, they said you know high valuations, meaning high Metacritic scores, haven't translated to improved sales. Like Sonic Cross Worlds hasn't met its initial sales expectations. Um, but what they said was they compared themselves to Capcom, right? They compared themselves to Capcom, which I think I mean maybe this fits with what they're saying because they're saying it hasn't they haven't yet they have yet to translate to a further increase in unit sales, which maybe means that you know it implies that they think that it's going to translate at some point in the future. Otherwise, they would just ignore Metacritic entirely and look at something else and try to optimize for something else. But the citing Capcom is a little concerning to me about like it makes me wonder what exactly their perspective is here because like if you think about the Capcom franchises that really sell like I don't know what Sonic Cross Worlds sold. I don't know, probably like a couple million copies. I don't really know, but you know, they're probably looking at Resident Evil, which always sells like 10 plus million copies. They're looking at like Monster Hunter, which always sells probably a similar amount or more. I don't know. Those big Capcom franchises that have been around a long time, um, they always sell a lot of copies. But like, I feel like comparing themselves to Capcom is a bad idea here, and just like I don't know. It's like they're grasping for a comparison point that like doesn't really make sense because those franchises just have so much like they've built up so much trust over the years. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is not totally true because like, Resident Evil 6 people didn't really love that game. Um I'm pretty sure even at the time people weren't really crazy about that game, but generally like it's a really long-running franchise, Resident Evil. And same with Monster Hunter, really long-running franchise that like has pretty consistently hit the mark for fans of that franchise and only broadened its appeal over time. Generally both Monster Hunter and Resident Evil. I'm trying to think of other Capcom the other big Capcom franchises, but I'm somehow failing. Maybe those are the only two these days? No, surely not. I'm thinking about like Resident Evil, or I'm thinking about like Ghosts and Goblins, but obviously that's not a heavy hitter for them. Street Fighter, DMC. Yeah, DMC hasn't really been active in a while, right? So, anyway, yeah. You see what I'm saying though? Like you have to wonder like are they even trying to like create franchises like that where I don't really see Sega trying to have that kind of consistent quality and building up the kind of trust where everyone it's a major media cultural event when a new Resident Evil game comes out, right? It's a major event every time. And similar for Monster Hunter, I assume. I'm not really into Monster Hunter, so I can't totally speak to that, but it's a major event every time in a way that Sonic just isn't, especially like a Sonic spin-off, right? Like they're talking about a Sonic spin-off here. I mean, what else are they talking about? Two Point Museum, isn't that like the resurrection of a franchise from a billion years ago? Metaphor, like I don't actually know. I'm actually curious how this game did since it's like a spin-off of Persona basically. It's like a not Persona game. Yeah, like this is a most publishers I wonder if most publishers would let the studio that they are publishing for do that kind of thing. Like I feel like publishers would push to would really push the developers that they're working with to just name it Persona, man. Like just name it Persona anything. Name it Persona Metaphor or Persona Refantasio or whatever. Or Persona Metaphor Refantasio. Like just put the word Persona in the title, man. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying anymore, but hopefully you get my point. This just seemed really like out of touch. Like I read this and was instantly bearish on Sega going forward. Yeah, name it Personae, yeah. Personae. Um Change the misleading headline. I'm not aware of this. I only saw this. Yeah, not sure what you're talking about with the misleading headline thing. Capcom sales figures. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Castlevania is Capcom. Yeah, that's they seem to have let that die, which is, maybe a good idea because you don't really see well, Castlevania is kind of two different things, right? It's action platformers, traditional action platformers, and then it's more recently more so the Metroid thing. But like you don't see Metroid games doing very well these days. I guess Dread did okay. I don't know. Maybe relative to the budget for that. Yeah, I'm not sure like how much that made, how much actual profit Dread made, but like Metroid is not a heavy hitter franchise for Nintendo in the same way that Mario and Zelda are. See, best selling in the series only 3 million is um, not really touching some of those other Nintendo franchises, but maybe that's still good for them depending on how much it costs to make. I didn't play Dread. Yeah, I don't know much about it, so yeah, that makes sense about Capcom Mallow. Yeah. Okay. Hello, Misa. Yeah. Street Fighter is big for sure. One factor that I think games sell is how cinematic and grand it is. I don't think the mainstream initially cared about Elden Ring's gameplay beyond just how epic it looked, not knocking the game. Yeah, well, let me frame that in a little bit more of a broader way. I agree with what you're saying, but I think you can frame it a little bit more broadly. It's like people want people are not interested in gameplay in an abstract sense at all. Like we're talking like when I say people, I mean the number of people needed to actually move copies and turn a profit on a game. Obviously, there's exceptions in rare cases, blah blah blah. But like the vast majority of the time, what is going to get a large number of people interested in your game is not abstract gameplay. It is. I'm assuming like no one knows about the franchise or anything like that, right? It's not abstract gameplay. It's something like LARP. I think of it as LARPing, right? Like you get into the mindset, like, you know, there's this copy pasta, there's this like there's this post about, I think it's like a 4chan post. It's like about Dark Souls 3 where it's like, you know, when I play Dark Souls 3, I like to pretend that I'm in the game and I like say stuff to the screen. I don't know. I don't remember. If someone can find the post I'm talking about, I would appreciate it. But I'm not going to try to find it right now. But it's, you know, it's describing this rare, very dorky way of like getting into the game and like role playing as the character in real life and like hyping yourself up as like being in the game, right? And I feel like that is representative of the way that the average video game consumer interacts with games, because it's like, because you look at the bigger games like Elden Ring that do really well, that really take off, and a lot of the time it's stuff like Elden Ring where you get immersed in the world. You kind of it has that epic thing. You feel like you're going on an epic adventure in a crazy world, right? That's a certain feeling that people want to get into in a kind of role playing ish way. But then you look at the smaller games that take off in a similar way, and there's actually a similar thing. Like you're LARPing as like being in an RV with your friends, right? Or you're LARPing as like a drug dealer, right? Like it does not matter. Like what was that? What was it called? Like Schedule 1. The other one I was talking about is called RV There Yet, I think. But it's like the specific gameplay, the abstract gameplay interactions, the abstract gameplay experience of those games doesn't really matter that much, I don't think, for sales. Like the quality of that aspect, the abstract aspect, varies tremendously between all of these different games. Like some of them like are pretty good. I don't know if Peak totally falls into this category. I don't know how appealing the LARP of like climbing a mountain with your friends is compared to some of these other things, but like Peak has really, really good gameplay, I think. Anyway, but yeah, what I'm saying is that doesn't matter that much for sales compared to a compelling, unique, quote unquote LARP appeal, where you can get into, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the drug dealer. I'm gonna be cooking the drugs. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be in an RV with my friends, and it's gonna break down and goofy stuff's gonna happen, whatever. Yeah, it's maybe it's related to this game makes you feel like blank. Really makes you feel like blank, which I feel like has been a a kind of a joke, a running joke among some category of serious gamers for a long time, right? Like, yeah, maybe that was just kind of a running gag because it was a very repetitive point in reviews. It's like a lazy reviewer trope. But yes, but to me, I feel like it's also silly. The feel like blank review trope is also silly because it just doesn't. It's not really describing what I care about in games. It's not describing whether you're making interesting decisions. It's very focused on the presentation and the things that are not as unique and special about games to me. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Okay, so that's a perfect bit of evidence there, Agent. Like, you know, the game store audience, the people who are still going into a physical game store in current year or close to current year, those people are pretty representative of like the average or at least like the lowest common denominator video game consumer that you have to appeal to if you want your game to really blow up beyond just appealing to someone like me and or someone like anyone here, honestly. Anyone who is watching this right now, like you are probably not very representative of the average gamer. Anyway, feels like God, makes you feel like God hand. Yeah, I want to play a game where I don't understand what the game is making me feel like. I have no point of comparison for what the game is making me feel like. And if you told me what they were trying to make it feel like, I would say that I don't even know what that means. That's the type of game I want to play. Mikami Studio news. I did not actually look into that. It's been a long time. It's been a long time since a Shinji Mikami game really got me excited, I gotta say. But I haven't played all of them. I don't know how personally involved he was with the like directorial decisions on that Tokyo Ghostwire Tokyo. But I didn't play that one yet. Maybe I'll try it at some point. But yeah, I wasn't crazy about like the Evil Within. I mean, what else has he even made in recent years? Works. Guy's worked on a lot of games. Yeah, so yeah, the last thing he directed was the Evil Within 1. He produced Evil Within 2, Ghostwire, and Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah, I tried Hi-Fi Rush. It didn't do much for me either. So to be honest, maybe this is blasphemy, but I'm kind of just a Resident Evil 4 Resident Evil 4 guy when it comes to Mikami, I think. Although no, I mean I like Resident Evil 1. I mean I like Resident Evil 1 and 2 for sure. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's cool that he worked on like Ace Attorney and stuff. But yeah, I've tried a good number of these games, and the only ones that I kind of would say that I unambiguously like a lot are Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 1 and 2. I think I'm not counting the Ace Attorneys, the ones that he was very directly involved with. I think God Hand is cool, but it's so I don't really understand how I'm supposed to be how I'm supposed to be enjoying God Hand on a gameplay level. Like obviously I enjoy the humor and just like how ridiculous it is and stuff like that. But in terms of like the gameplay, like are people just looking up the best build? Or are they like really experimenting with the different skills and stuff? Because I found it to be kind of a pain to experiment with all the different skills and like make a good build and like a build that felt like I was really playing the game how it should be played. It's very similar to how like DMC3 feels to me. There's just too many mechanics, man. Like this is how I feel about I guess this is how I feel about character action games in general. Like it's just too many mechanics. Like you as the designer are responsible, I think, for curating the experience for me a little bit more than that. Like it has this kind of simulation-y game kind of approach where it's just like here's a million tools, right? Here are a million different mechanics and systems that can theoretically interact in a billion different ways. Like have fun. And I'm like, how you have to tell me, you have to be more specific with how I'm supposed to have fun with this, because like I can try using this weapon with this and like I'll try like pressing this and then canceling it with this, and like there's like a million different there's just a million different theoretical interactions that you can test out and theoretical builds of like, different sets of abilities or different sets of weapons that you could try together. And like I just don't find that aspect very fun. Like I feel like, yeah, I just don't really get it. Like, I think these games must appeal much more to, like character action games in general. They must appeal much more to the type of person who is just excited by seeing visually, and I mean, this goes back to what I was just saying about LARP appeal, kind of like The type of person who's not so much in it for like interesting abstract gameplay experiences and more so in it for, isn't it cool that I'm swinging these nunchucks around right now and hitting all the enemies that are coming at me or whatever. Like, and isn't it cool that I can then switch to my giant sword and do this move, and like just like seeing a lot of different moves is exciting. If seeing a lot of different moves is exciting to you, that's the type of game you would probably really like. And to me, it just having all those different moves is a major negative. And and you know, I could approach these games the other way. I could approach character action games on some like on the opposite end of the spectrum, where I say like, okay, I'm just gonna look up like what's a good build, like what's a good set of abilities to use for God Hand, right? How would a an expert player like play through the game if they're just trying to have fun? And I could try to figure out what that would be and then play it through that way. But like, first of all, it's like surprisingly hard to find that kind of thing. I think I tried to do this for God Hand, like after trying to play it the other way and not having a particularly great time for like a full playthrough. And um yeah, I like struggled to find something like what I just described, where it's like this is the route that you take through the game, like routing in terms of like what abilities you have at different points and what abilities you buy at different points, um, and what your loadout is going into each level and things like that. I think I tried to look something up like that up for God Hand as like a second attempt to really enjoy the game in the way that other people really love that game. And I found like a lot of I found a lot of videos of people doing cheesy strats. And when I tried those out, I was like, yeah, these are just cheesy strats. This is not that interesting. Um, so like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is a middle ground. Like, I'm sure there is a way to play that game and have fun. But when I interact with those games, I always have this experience of like, it feels like simulation slop when I first play it, and I'm trying to figure out what the fun way to play it is, and I'm doing all this work, what feels like work, to figure out what the most fun way to play the game is, and never quite getting there, never quite getting to where it feels great. And then when I try to look it up, I end up it's like the game is instantly solved. Like I don't want that. Like I want to have a smooth learning experience while I'm actually playing the game and trying things out and trying like I want to be rewarded for trying to find the fun myself, right? Yeah, I just think those games have too many mechanics. If they didn't have so many mechanics, if they were curated, if the ability sets, the weapon sets, things like that were curated a little bit more, just cut the number of mechanics down, man. But I think I just have to accept that character action games in general are not super duper for me, since again, that's like the appeal, is that you have a bunch of different weapons and you can do a bunch of crazy moves with them. Um, Not even Beautiful Joe. Yeah, Beautiful Joe. If I was gonna include one more game in that list that I just said, I would probably include Beautiful Joe. And it's an interesting example because I think, you know, you might call it a character action game. It comes from Kamiya, who's um, known mainly for character action kind of games. But yeah, I don't know if he intentionally stepped away from. I guess DMC one is a little bit more curated as well. Now that I think about it, yeah, maybe Kamiya was never super responsible for the direction that character action games took. Um, yeah, I never really thought about that, but you know, obviously he contributed to that direction more with Bayonetta, because like in that game you get a ton of different weapons that have way different move sets and stuff like that. But you can ignore it. Like I enjoy Bayonetta a lot, just playing with like the main weapons. Um, anyway, Beautiful Joe. Yeah, I like Beautiful Joe pretty well. I liked it a lot when I was a kid. When I revisited it, well, but when I was a kid, I was like getting destroyed by it. I like didn't know how to engage with a game like that when I was a kid. I think I yeah, I think I must have been missing some major mechanic. I can't remember anymore because it was so long ago, but I think I must have been missing some major mechanic, and that's that's a problem with a lot of Kamiya's games. Like it's pretty easy to miss one thing, and the game really does not feel right as long as you are missing that one thing. Um, Nowadays, I kind of know how to detect that feeling in myself when I'm playing a game, the feeling that I'm probably missing some major thing, and I can take measures. I can, for Beautiful Joe, I can, or for an older game like Beautiful Joe, I can maybe try looking at through the manual and seeing if I find anything. For a newer game, I might just experiment, or I might just give up and Google stuff. Yeah, exactly. Dodge offset, totally. And there's stuff like that in DMC1 as well, although maybe not quite as impactful. Yeah. But yeah, Beautiful Joe, I love the style of the game, and yeah, like, it's related to what I was just saying, because like it does have a more curated set of mechanics. I don't think I used all of the mechanics when I played through that game, even on the ultra, what's the max difficulty called? Whatever. Even on the max difficulty, I don't really think you have to use all the mechanics, but it kind of helps to, probably. Yeah, I think that's a nice balance, but it probably doesn't appeal to character action people as much as something like DMC3 or God Hand. Um, well, I would sit there and bang my head against a game for months as a kid, but I don't think that means I was more experimental. When you say more experimental, I feel like should mean more experiments per minute or something like that, right? Which I do way more experiments per minute now, because I understand games a lot better now, and I understand how to enjoy different types of games. Uh, I understand what I can do to potentially try to enjoy a game more, which often experimentation is a big part of that. Um, yeah, yeah, I absolutely, well said, Cerise. Feels good to look back and see a sense of self forming, like building muscle. Yeah, I love thinking back on all the mental muscles that I've built. Nina, thanks for the 24 months. Appreciate that. Uh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about. Well, okay, that's all the background I have to say about Mikami. We're actually going to look at what this is. Okay, so Mikami's building a new or made a new studio for AAA original IP for consoles and PC. So he left Tango Gameworks. Didn't he make he formed this studio to like try to so this I guess there's an interesting implication here if we trace this back to previous news from like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever that was. He formed Tango Gameworks, and if I recall correctly, what he said at the time was something like, I'm trying to take a step back into more of a mentor role, and I want to like raise up other talents, other talented people in who could potentially be great game directors in the future. Um, and I'm gonna be more of a mentor to multiple of these types of people at the same time, and yeah. So this you have to ask now when you see that he left that studio and made his own new thing. Are there no could he not find anyone who could he not find any good game directors or good was he wrong that there was a bunch of talent out there waiting to be you know grown, waiting to be mentored? To be honest, that's kind of my it's kind of my impression that things wouldn't really work that way. The way that if I recall correctly, he kind of seemed to think back then. Cuz if you think about how great game directors, like how did Shinji Mikami come to be a great game director? I think he started at some lower role in the company. Or no, I think I'm mixing him up with someone else. Yeah, maybe he just started as a game director. But yeah, I do kind of have the sense that something like directing a game, I mean, any kind of art really, or design, like these things are just so complicated. You have to be able to think about a game from so many different angles, and you have to have opinions, and you have to have a unique vision and unique tastes and unique things that you want to see happen in this medium. Like I just wonder how much it really helps to mentor someone like that. I mean, I'm sure it helps to have a mentor, but you can't just I wonder if you can't just really pick someone, right? Pick someone who seems smart or pick someone who seems like a good fit or whatever and just get them up to being a director. I feel like they have to be called they have to have extreme passion and be obsessive about this type of thing. I don't know. That's just how I think how I would assume that it works. Basically, what I was gonna say is like I think something like that. If you wanted to, as a as a successful game director, big game director, if you want to like mentor people to follow in your footsteps, it might make more sense to choose someone from outside the mainstream game space, like choose someone who has made successful indie games already. They've kind of proven that they know how to do this particular type of thing. And I don't know, maybe he was picking people like that, and they've, you know, all this could be completely empty speculation because he could have left this studio for a completely different reason. He could have changed his mind for a completely different reason, or not changed his mind. Maybe he just yeah has to do this now or wants to do this now for completely unrelated reasons to what I'm talking about. But yeah, it just makes you wonder. But yeah, triple A original IP. I mean, is that basically all of the information that we have? Around 50 employees with an aim to expand to 150. Aspirations to work on smaller scale titles concurrently. This is the type of thing that they say and then it never happens somehow, but I don't know, maybe maybe it'll happen. Uh, we're aiming for triple A. Okay, this is interesting. It would be difficult to do the same kind of work in Japan as overseas AAA titles, which require hundreds of billions of yen and hundreds of people working for 5 to 7 years. So we're aiming for AAA quality and AA content, which is why we're creating a title that offers a rich gaming experience and allows you to be completely immersed in its world. I mean, this is just marketing speak, but maybe it seems like this is the type of thing that he must have meant something by this, right? AAA quality and AA content. I mean, you what I would hope if I read just this phrase, I would hope AA content meaning something a bit different, something that has maybe a little bit, you know, something that yeah, isn't the exact same game that you get in every other AAA game. Like AAA games are very samey. So AA content maybe suggests to me something a bit different, but I don't know how much sense that makes. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. A lively production. I mean, I like what I'm hearing here, but yeah, I don't know. You can't really assume too much about this. But I think Mikami's a smart guy. It seems yeah. I'll have my eye on it. Anyone else have interesting thoughts about this? Because I'm not the biggest Mikami head or anything like that. Yeah, like yeah. You would think that quality is what takes the budget. Well, I mean, he's the producer and the head of the studio and stuff as well, presumably. So like he's the designer, but he's presumably also doing a lot of marketing talk. Um, More focused, not open world like that new Pragmata game. I haven't. Did that game come out? That completely passed me by if it did. But I don't know if I would need to try that. I don't know if I'd feel the need to try that anyway. But yeah, double A content. Yeah, a double A amount of content. I guess that makes more sense. So yeah, it allows you to be completely immersed in its world. So yeah, that it's probably more like a linear, isn't it? It's not open world as a linear game, but it looks as good as a AAA game, just with probably like a linear thing or a very small world or something like that. Yeah, I can't help but read into it what I actually want to what I actually want to see, even if I know that it makes no sense. Okay, that's good. That's good history context in the chat about Mikami. Oh yeah, Shibata. That I remember hearing something about that guy. That's like a pretty nice ludography, whatever you call it. Pretty, he's worked on a pretty nice set of games there. Anyway, there's that. We talked about that. This this is interesting. I might want to talk about this in more depth in the future. Oh no, I have gotta zoom out. So I played this new Sylvie game, Quest. It's just called Quest, and I don't know if I'd really recommend it. And I recommend it to the true Sylvie heads as always. But yeah, nothing about it felt particularly essential to me, other than for the true Sylvie heads. And if you're a true Sylvie head, you already know about it and you're already playing it anyway. So anyway, the only thing I wanted to talk about it is in the design notes. So Sylvie always does these design notes, which are pretty in depth and pretty interesting about everything she was thinking about when she was making the game. And yeah, I get a lot out of these, but the one thing that stuck out to me that was interesting was the way that she talked about this debug mode. So um, maybe I'll just read this. It's kind of long though, but I kind of forgot some of the stuff that it said. So let's just read through this. Okay. Um, Debug mode lets you change the water level. Okay, so the debug mode in the game basically lets you bypass everything, but it doesn't actually tell you. So she's making a distinction between this feature and typical accessibility options. So in the past, Sylvie has included like a regular accessibility kind of menu in her games where you can set it with just tons of options. You can set it to give yourself any items, any set of items, or um, be in any area or whatever, like tons of stuff. There's like invincibility modes, like everything that something like Celeste would have, and more. Um, she has experimented with before, and the reason that she has done that, or at least part of the reason, at least this is related. She's talked before about how she thinks that games should be more like a book in the sense that you can flip to any page at any time. And I think that I really strongly disagree with that. Okay, let me just say I really strongly disagree with that. Um, and I didn't totally understand why she wanted that, why that would be desirable. I mean, I understand why it would be desirable for some people. They want to curate their experience, but based on the rest of Sylvie's opinions, I didn't understand how that opinion fit in, right? How that coheres with everything else that she believes about video games, because clearly she wants people to have a very particular experience, and um, she's trying to very directly communicate through the level design in a way that just does not land in the same way if you're invincible, right? Or if you've just messed with everything, if you're doing things out of order, it just didn't make sense to me. But she talks about games as spaces of states, which I think that's a pretty obvious kind of framing. Like there's you can think of every possible uh different state that you can be in within a game. Like the obvious way to think about is the easiest thing to think about is like a Sokoban puzzle, right? Like every different arrangement of blocks, or like you can get a little bit, you can narrow it down a little bit by cutting out states that are like almost identical. Like this block is one space up compared to this other state, but that doesn't actually matter. You can move it directly between those two states very easily. Um, but even in a more complicated game, you can think about uh, like every different possible, like in Tetris, you can think of like every different arrangement of the current grid, and maybe it doesn't actually matter which pieces, uh, which specific tetrominoes are in which specific spots. What actually matters to the gameplay right now is like what the overall grid, or the overall, what you could think of as the level layout looks like. Um, the things that actually affect the pieces that are going to be coming in next, affect your decision making. And then, like, there's other aspects of the state, like where your cursor currently is, like where you're the moving, the piece that you're controlling, where that currently is, and what the next piece coming up is, and stuff like that, what speed you're on. So you could think of all the different possible combinations of all those different types of variables, uh, as the space of states in that game. And you could think about the possibility of flipping to any of those states in the same way that you can flip to any page in a book. And what I came to understand, so just to be clear, I do not like this idea, because I I don't like, for people, I think that people have, a lot of people are not very patient, right? A lot of people are not very patient. They don't have very high self-control. They don't believe in themselves as much as they really should. They maybe are in a kind of what do you call it? Like a growth. What's the opposite of a growth mindset? um what is it called? Anyway, a growth mindset is like, fixed mindset, sure. A fixed mindset is like, my brain works the way that it does. Like I'm not going to improve. I just have to deal with what I have. Scarcity mindset, that's a different thing. I think. Fugue state. Thanks for all the thanks for all the great answers. Uh anyway, yeah, there's kind of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset problem, where like people don't, I mean, a growth mindset to me is the correct orientation toward the world, toward life, toward problems that you have in your life, toward video games, toward everything. Like, you have to recognize that your brain can change. Um, you can learn how to do new things. You can get better at things, and even I feel like I'm super growth mindset pilled, but I underestimate sometimes the extent to which I can get better at something. Like, playing Caramel Action recently. Like, when I got to loop 2 in Caramel Action, I was not immediately sure how possible it was, but it has gotten to the point where it's definitely, like, I'm certain that you could beat it 100% of the time if you were really, really good. And I'm certain that I could get to that point if I practiced enough. Anyway, what was I saying? Like, yeah. So the reason that I don't think, like, let's just talk about like Celeste style accessibility options. Like, you have a menu that at any point you can go in, change the options so that you're invincible, or so that the game slows down, or whatever. The reason I'm not a big fan of that, even though it does not really affect my personal experience other than just seeing the option there, I would probably never use something like that. It's at least hard for me to imagine a situation where I would use something like that. But I still don't like it, because I want other people to have a good experience with games as well. And I think that people don't always know what's best for themselves. I think this should actually be obvious. If you look around at the world and the decisions that people make, it should be obvious that people do not always know what's best for themselves, in very major ways. And so the same is obviously true to a lesser extent in video games. People are not always going to choose the options or play in the way that would actually be best for them. Like, very often they might, uh, even let's ignore the possible, let's ignore the what I'm What I'm really talking about, like different modes and different accessibility options, difficulty levels, things like that. Let's just think about a game with like a single mode, like Caramel Action. Um, you very often people get into like kind of a flow state, like um, doing the same type of thing over and over again. And in the back of their mind, they might be thinking like, okay, I maybe if I figured out how this one thing works, that would make a big difference. Like that would maybe if I figured out how this one thing works, that would help, and I wouldn't have to like bang my head against the wall over and over again. But they keep banging their head against the wall. They don't go out. They don't go through the effort. It would take a bit of effort to go out of their way and experiment with something and learn and get better at the game that way. Even though that's the more efficient and more interesting way to get better at the game. Like you were in the long run, you were going to have a better experience with the game if you put in that effort right now. Right? The sooner you put in the effort, the more enjoyable an experience you're going to have with the game in the long run. But instead, people have the tendency to bang their head against the wall. That's just kind of one category of example, right? Of how people often they don't they don't know what's best for them. And obviously, sometimes with that type of example, people aren't, that idea doesn't fully come to their conscious attention and things like that. But I think often it does, and they still ignore it. Anyway, my point is, people don't know what's best for them, and when you give them accessibility options, that is making the game worse. It's making the game worse for people who are a little too impatient, for people who don't have that self-control, for people who don't quite believe in themselves enough, who are stuck in a little bit of a fixed mindset. They will get a little upset. They will maybe rage a little bit, and then instead of closing the game, taking a break like they maybe need to do, what they're going to do is they're going to see the accessibility menu, and they're going to lower the difficulty. They're going to turn on whatever mode, and then they're going to get back into the game and continue with that setting on and enjoy it less than, say they had rage quit because say there was no accessibility option and they just rage quit, they close the game. Maybe they calm down later and, the game is still kind of lingering in their head. They're not playing it right now, but it's still kind of lingering in there. Something occurs to them. They remember like, maybe I should try it again. Then they come back after a break and they immediately, often after a break, you immediately notice something that you didn't notice before. Like you kind of come into the game again with a fresh state of mind, and something new occurs to you and you start having a better experience with it immediately. Like often that's all it takes is like one rage quit, and then like later that day or the next day or whatever, open the game back up and continue and have a great time. Like, and not only is that a better experience with that game, it's a better experience in life. Like as a game designer, by not including that accessibility menu, you've made them a better person potentially by showing them, by giving them this experience of, okay, I was really mad before and I thought maybe the game sucked or whatever, but then I came back and it's actually great and I totally get it now and I'm having a better time. And like, you gave them an experience of getting over the hump with something. You gave them an experience of seeing a way in which their initial assumption and gut feeling was wrong. You're giving them an experience that at least is a potential catalyst for growth in their life, right? And so, yeah. So even though it doesn't affect me, I care about other types of players. I care about the type of player who doesn't have the life experience or whatever to be in that, to have that strong growth mindset. I care about the type of player who's, maybe has a tendency to rage and isn't as patient as they should be. Yeah, so I don't like accessibility menus for that reason. But getting back to this debug mode thing, Sylvia's talking about a completely different issue here. She's not really talking about accessibility in the way that you normally see it talked about in relation to that argument that I was just giving. And about like, oh, it lets more people experience the game, um, who would otherwise think it's too hard or whatever. Um, she's not really talking about that. She's talking about something that relates to her book argument, right? You want to flip to you want to be able to flip to any page in the book at any time. Um, what she's saying is it the debug mode. Okay, here we are. The purpose of debug mode is to help players appreciate Quest as a quote sculpture. It makes it either trivial or at worst mildly time consuming to reach specific states. So you can learn without much effort how many states there are, and if there are any you didn't discover, which states are connected to which other states, and what is contained in the entirety of the action sequences which normally eject you to a previous state when you fail them. So it's she's framing what she wants as like, someone decides that the game is no longer for them. Like they or this, like decides that they don't want to finish playing the game or don't want to 100%, see explore all the different secrets and everything, right? Like there's some pretty obscure secrets in Sylvie games a lot of the time, including this one. So, I think this concern makes sense. You want people to be able to understand the game more thoroughly. And another thing about Sylvie games is that they're more obscure, right, than something like Tower of Druaga. She's inspired a lot by Tower of Druaga, and that game, was a huge arcade hit back in the day that tons of players obsessed over for months. So, you don't have to worry about something like this quite as much in a game like Tower of Druaga if you're making a game like that where it's going to be a big hit. Like something like Inscription maybe would be the modern equivalent of that. Like you can have really crazy ARG style secrets. You can have the craziest secrets you want, and most of it, at least the vast majority of it, probably is going to get figured out by players in the long run, and the knowledge will be out there on the internet of what the structure of this game is. If for people who want to appreciate the game as a quote sculpture, see the overall structure of it, how everything fits together, appreciate the how it was designed in that kind of way, you don't have to go out of your way to include this kind of debug mode for that if you're making something really really big like that. But for something like Quest, a Sylvie game, and not even a major Sylvie game, like a relatively small Sylvie game that not very many people are going to play, it's cool that she at least cares about this. I think, she wants someone to play the game, have whatever experience they have with it, whether that's bouncing off of it immediately or, you know, um, seeing most of it but not all of it, or even seeing all of it. Even if you play the game and you feel like you have 100%ed it, you can then open the debug mode and find out, is there something else that I did that I failed to find? And I think that's actually really nice. And she actually talks about that it related to completion tracking, like completion percentage tracking. But I'll get to that in a second. What I want to say though is it's just interesting how differently I feel about this compared to accessibility options, which are really it is the exact same thing, right? This debug mode is effectively the same as accessibility options in the menu, except for the framing. The framing is debug mode, right? Which really, I think, has a completely different effect. And it's also a little bit outside of the game. Like, you can't, there's no option from the title screen to go into debug mode or whatever. It's just, on the itch.io page, it tells you how to do it. Whatever. I didn't actually look at how you do it, but, it's that type of thing. And I think framing it that way makes it totally okay with me. Even if it's not the kind of thing that I really care about still. I'm not sure how much I care about games as sculptures in that way. Yeah, it's interesting to see. It's interesting for people. It's interesting to me to see how people describe the ways that they appreciate games, the things that are interesting about games to them. Because to me, the sort of the way that C.T. Nguyen describes games in his book that I've talked about, the book Games Agency as Art, that the way that he describes it there, where it's like it's about the there's he actually uses I think he actually uses a sculpture analogy as well in that book, or maybe I just started using a sculpture analogy after reading it because it made sense to me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I came up with that or he came up with that, but somewhat it makes sense to think of it as like the game is sculpting your I think he says it. The game is sculpting your agency, right? You your agency is like what you want to be doing and how you think about doing it and all of these things, like the actual mental activity that is happening inside of you when you're playing a game. And for video games and physical games, you can also think about like the activity of your whole body, like how you move your limbs and things like that. Like the overall whatever is happening in your mind and body when you are playing a game, that is what's interesting to me primarily. Like I'm not saying these other things aren't interesting, but the sculpted the sculptures of agency, whatever you want to call that, that is what dominates to me when I think about what makes games interesting to me and what I appreciate about them. Like that dominates by far. um, yeah, it's like appreciating the shape that this game contorts my brain into. It's like this playing this game and trying to get good at it makes my brain fall into particular grooves and patterns and do particular sets of things in a particular order that like doesn't normally happen in everyday life, and that is very interesting, and I see that, I notice it, and I appreciate that. But this is a totally different thing. um Not that this is necessarily the main way that Sylvie appreciates games or anything like that, but this is a totally different way to appreciate games. Like seeing just, it's like the architecture of games or something. Like how, in the sense of like software architecture. It's like how this complicated thing was put together and how it fits together. Um, and yeah, that's just interesting that presumably some people care about that a lot more than I do. And I think that's true. I think a lot of people care about that more than I do. And I think this is a good way to get that type of, yeah, to give players more of that type of appeal for a game that is never going to get the community autism attention of something like Tower of Duraga or Inscription or whatever. So yeah, I think that's really cool. I think framing it as debug mode and putting it outside of the game, putting the instructions for that outside of the game, um, that seems like enough to me, right? That like if you're getting into that, if you're using that, like no one is going to be tempted to do that for. Maybe that's not true. Maybe some people will still be tempted, but like you, if you're using debug mode to, uh, as like an accessibility menu, I feel like you kind of know you're doing something wrong. Like, I don't know. It also maybe just scares people off a little bit. Like debug mode, ooh, that sounds a little bit like it's going to be high effort or something. I don't know. I think it's sufficiently repellent for people who are just looking for a way to make the game easier. Um, you're comparing it to what I was saying about God Hand, right? You're saying I want to appreciate the game as a sculpture because of the way that I tried to enjoy God Hand more. But really, what I was looking for is I was looking for more sculpting, right? I do see YouTube comments now, finally. uh how's it going? Lohin Graham. Uh I always try to find the short version of people's usernames, right? Anyway, I was it's I think what I was trying to do with God Hand when I was like looking stuff up about it to try to find a better way to play it is, yeah, I was not really trying to appreciate the game as a sculpture in this debug mode kind of way. I was looking for a way to, it's like the game, when I was saying that the game has too many options, right? Like the game doesn't curate enough. Another way of saying that is related to my sculpted agency type of idea, or CT Nguyen's idea. um, you could say that not what I was saying about not curating enough, like not like having giving me too many different abilities, too many different options, too many ways of doing something. It's effectively like um you could think of that as not sculpting enough. You could think of it as not chiseling away at particular parts of the sculpture very much. It's like you have yeah, it's like you have left it open for me to finish this sculpture. You have done 50% of the chiseling at this sculpture, and you have left it for me to decide how I would like to get it the rest of the way there to a finished to a finished work of art. And I think that that sucks. I don't like that experience because I can see all of the different ways that it could go, and it's not clear to me like first of all, it's work for me to chisel it the rest of the way there. Um, Second of all, yeah, it's not totally clear how to get to the best finished form of this sculpture of my agency. I don't know if this has gotten just way too like abstract for people to follow. For me, this still makes sense. So hopefully at least to some of you, it still makes sense. Um, so so yeah, I go on YouTube or look up how other people play it in a way to as an attempt to bypass the work of chiseling it different ways, you know, chiseling it this way and then seeing, that doesn't look very good, and then undoing everything back to the 50% that the designer chiseled for me, and then starting over. Okay, well, I'll try it this way. I don't like that very much either. I'll undo everything and try again. Like, that's kind of the experience of playing something like God Hand blind to me. It's like, I'm just trying over and over again to get to something that I'm really happy with and never quite getting there. And it just feels like all this work to do this chiseling over and over again. Um, but yeah, I feel like I can sometimes when you play a game, often this is true for me with arcade games. Like I miss some trick when I'm playing it blind, some important trick. And when I look up, you know, a skilled player, playing this arcade game, I will immediately recognize, oh, this is something I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be thinking about this way. This mechanic works this way, whatever. And that immediately helps me understand, like, it knowing that additional thing constrains my agency in an additional way that makes it more of a finished sculpture in my head rather than what it was before, this kind of uncertain thing. Yeah, I enjoy things about God Hand. I don't dislike the game, but yeah, I definitely agree that it's hyped in a way that's just wild. But you know, the people who like it, people like games for other reasons than I do. I'm sure it's peak for a certain type of taste. Was there something else here? Yeah, so she talks about she wants players to quote play as much as you feel like playing. Um, and so she doesn't want to do like include like completion percentages for that reason. And I think that's really nice. I think, you know, I'm the type of player who if I really like a game, I feel like I have to see it through, or at least like see it to a point where things are repeating. Like, I'm just too curious. Like, if I've enjoyed the first 80% of a game a lot, like, I don't I would rather just have a mid experience with the last 20% and see it through than, you know, stay in the unknown, like potentially, like, you can't really know without spoiling for yourself what that last 20% is going to be like. Like, if you look something up to even just to try to find out, like, is this worth playing, like, you might potentially spoil yourself. Like, I don't know, I just prefer to have my authentic experience with the thing. So I often do go for full completion of games, but sometimes there are games that I want to just play a little bit and then dip. And yeah, completion percentages and all of these like rewards and stuff like that. It's like it doesn't affect me personally that much, but it's like a little bit of this kind of psychological thing that feels bad, you know? I don't know. I have very complicated thoughts about this kind of stuff because one thing I've noticed is, and I think Jonathan Blow has talked about this a lot, or at least a couple times before. The way that a game ends really matters a lot. Like people think about first impressions a lot, uh, with everything, but you know, presumably with games, designers and players think about the first impression that a game is making, and obviously that matters. But I think it also really matters the final impression that a game leaves you with. And the example that Jonathan Blow used is Portal, right? He argued that people like Portal more than it deserves, or maybe he didn't. He probably didn't say it that way, but you know, something like that. They like Portal significantly more because it has this cute song at the end, right? Um, and people like the funny song. It's like a memorable ending, right? And if you think about that, if you think about trying to have your game end on a high note, a lot of games really miss the mark there. Especially a lot of the modern design approach leaves a lot that's optional. You know, for completion, you know, they think about it as for completionists. The average player, this is not for the average player, but it's kind of weird to give the average player this final memory of the game, this last part of the experience of, well, I guess I don't really care quite enough to do this. I guess I'm done with the game. Like, you know, it's something like that as the final experience with the game. Like that seems really bad. Like that's a really bad final impression to leave a player with. But presumably in a lot of like open world games, even the more like, you know, curated open world games like The Witness, like Outer Wilds, like Rain World, kind of like games that are where the designers were really careful to make sure that everything they put in the game is uniquely interesting and special, and there is some type of player who would really want to see that. Even for those type of games, the average player probably just wants to like get to the ending and stop, or like, and yeah, I guess this is all complicated because you can have like different tiers of endings. Like you could have, I believe Jonathan Blow, and this is probably related. His thinking on this decision is probably related to everything I just said. Um, he has said that for Order of the Sinking Star, which is coming out maybe this year, there will be three endings because he wants to have different thresholds of completion that feel satisfying, right? And that probably does go a long way toward solving this problem for most people. Like you'll you'll probably have a good sense of like, okay, I had to really push myself a little bit to get to this ending, whether that's the first or the second one. So I'm probably not going to like want to put that much more effort or spend that much more time with the game to get to a whole nother ending, because that could be pretty far away. Um, you're the average, so that means the average player is going to quit immediately after an ending, which does kind of end the game on a high note for them. But I just wonder how many people are like me, where you're just curious, you're just always curious about the next phase of the game, right? Even after you get something that feels like it could be a good stopping point and could be and would make a nice final impression, you're just curious. You just want to peek behind the curtain and see something, and that desire, that curiosity creates an experience where instead of ending on that high note, you kind of end on something like, yeah, there's a lot more here, and I don't know, like I, or even worse, like you try to engage with it, you really try to push through it because you loved the first part of the game. You really try to keep pushing through this extra content, and then um, it ends up being too hard for you, And so you're frustrated, and now you're in this point where you're like halfway to the next ending, and you're like, I really want, you're like torn, you're like conflicted in this way that just feels terrible. Like I really want to see this through, but it's also really painful. Like it's really hard. It's too hard for me. So you end up leaving the game on that note, which is really bad. Like this is just a really tricky problem, is my point, um, for video games. And yeah, for a level based game like that. So this is another one of those problems that level based games have that a more traditional game structure does not have. Something like a multiplayer matchmaking game, or like a game that you play repeatedly. You play a short game repeatedly, like a roguelike or an arcade style game. Um, you're playing the same mode over and over again, hundreds or thousands of times. That um, that doesn't really have this problem. It feels more natural to get what you're gonna get out of the game, and then dip, or just, yeah. And similarly, it doesn't really have a difficulty problem in the same way as level based games, um, which I've talked about before. And yeah, this is part of the reason why this kind of inelegance is part of the reason why I'm trying to raise awareness of the ways in which a kind of roguelike arcadey structure works really well and solves a lot of these problems. But I don't know, it seems like a lot of people aren't even conscious of the problems that I'm that I'm talking about here. So I don't know how much people care about these things. But anyway, that's an interesting thing about, um I like to see people thinking about this kind of stuff. The problems with completion tracking in terms of how it makes people engage with the game. Um, it might not necessarily just be a good thing to give people more information, um, about their progress through the game. So yeah, I think this debug mode is a good solution. The way that it's done here. Anyway, I think that's about all I had to say about that. A lesser sculpture? Well, look, if you're making a game that the goal of the game is to sculpt your agency in a particular way, to create an interesting abstract sculpture in your mind, right? Like that implies that implies a lot about your target audience. It implies certain capabilities, right? Because you can't do certain things to the player's mind. You can't make their mind contort into, you can't mold their mind or mold their agency into particular shapes if they can't do certain things. Like it all ties in with player capabilities. The more capabilities, the more breadth and depth of capabilities the player has, the more potential is unlocked for the game designer, right? The more you assume the player is able to do, the more you can do in terms of making interesting things happen in their head. So that's an interesting thing to think about. But yeah, so that kind of implies that there's always going to be players who are going to have a better or worse experience, and at some point they may just not have they may not be able to have a good experience at all because they just don't have the capabilities that this game is expecting. And that's just how art works in general, though. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about that, but it's maybe an interesting topic to hit on more in the future. Is there a central list of Sylvie's design notes somewhere? Couldn't tell you. Yeah, I don't know. There is no, I don't know, because at one point some of the design notes at least were like paid. Like, I think she released Sylvie RPG for free, but as an option to support her, you can give her $7 and unlock the design notes and maybe something else. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but that might be one reason. Even if it's not like that anymore, that might be one reason why there is not a central repository, because it's all been scattered at various points for weird historical reasons. Somehow I'm ranting a lot about things I did not expect to rant. I expected to blow through. I keep expecting to blow through this news stuff and through these random topics in like, I don't know, 30 minutes, and then spending like an hour and a half. I wanted to talk about this because this this is related to this Computer Worlds showcase thing that I showed on stream last week. We watched the trailer for it. But this video I thought was interesting, the way that he talks about, related to what I was just saying about Sylvie's debug mode, appreciating the game as a sculpture, or what I would call like the architecture of the game. I was saying that that's an interesting, different way of appreciating games. That's not my core way. It's not my main way of appreciating games. And coincidentally, this video also came out this week, and this person in this video describes another completely different way of appreciating games that seemingly they think is the main thing that games should be doing, or it's at least the main thing for them. I don't know. Well, let's watch this 5-minute video, and then I might have some more to say about it.
Expressive and singular interactive sculpture puzzle game about alchemy and hermeticism. But to me, this is not just a game for the freaks like me who have a weird hyperfixation on the history of magic, science, and religion. It is a game that is representative of the power and the potential of games themselves. A game that is emblematic of the very spirit of Computer Worlds. The game itself presents as a series of beautifully detailed interactive puzzles.
1 second. Maybe if I do that.
Inspired by a 15th century manuscript known as the Ripley Scroll, a 6-foot-long piece of parchment that details the process of creating the Philosopher's Stone and the elixir of eternal life. But even if you are not a believer in the power of alchemy, as people like Sir Isaac Newton once were, the inherent value and importance of something like All Living Things is not in its instruction of the alchemical process, but in its ability to inspire curiosity in those who play it. One of the most profound things to me about games and art in general is their capacity to act as containers for human curiosity. To experience and to connect with a game that touches upon subjects which are not part of your everyday life is inherently to broaden our horizons. To look up actual images of the Ripley Scroll in the case of All Living Things. To learn about alchemy and how it was not merely a form of proto-science, but also a process of self-inquiry and actualization on the part of the alchemist. And therefore, one of the most telling metrics about the quality of a game, of an experience, is whether it reaches off of the proverbial canvas and into your life. Does it inspire you to do more research or thinking about the subjects that it touches upon? This is not to say that the importance of a game can only be measured in the number of people who run to Wikipedia immediately after playing it, but merely to express that the power of games as an art form is in their interactivity, in interfacing with worlds that touch upon ideas, aesthetics, subjects, themes, characters, narratives, and worlds that can reflect our lives and experiences, but also reach into them and expand them. And in an appropriately Ouroboros fashion, the playing of games is a somewhat alchemical process, insofar as the purpose of playing the game is to play the game. But on top of this is this ethereal meta layer, that the profundity of an experience, the amount to which it stays with us after the experience is over, may be a truer measure of what the experience truly means to us. Sort of the direct inverse of an idea that I once heard attributed to Will Wright, that the experience of playing a game begins not when you begin playing the game, but when the player first hears of the game and begins to simulate in their mind what playing the game will be like. So too, after the game has ended, the experience of the game continues on within us, as we reflect upon the experience, as we let the experience change us. When you talk to people who are fanatical zealots of the Yakuza games, if you ask them to summarize the importance of these games, the conversation will immediately drift towards their heart, their whimsy, the contrast of a seedy criminal underbelly against these characters with a heart of gold. And I think games like that can truly move us, can change us. I think experiencing a character like Kiryu Kazuma can literally make you a better person. I think playing a game like Pentiment can literally make you a more historically curious person, can show you the value of being historically curious. I think playing deeply personal games like Loading and Consume Me can deepen our empathy. That playing fantastical, mythical games like Dread Delusion and Queen's Domain can engender feelings of mythical profundity in our everyday lives. So to bring it back to all living things, do I think that playing this game will transform you into an alchemist? Do I think it will transmute the leaden dross of your life into spiritual, philosophical, or metaphysical gold? Maybe. But I will say that even playing the 10-minute demo of this game is the reason I've made this video in the first place. That thinking about alchemy and alchemists, about the meta processes that overlay the physical processes of alchemy, is something that got the gears of curiosity turning in my mind sufficiently, that it led me down this meandering path of curiosity about games, about their power and importance, about the multitudinous ways in which they can reach into our lives and transform us. And if that fact alone is not representative of the power of computer games, of computer worlds, then I don't know what is. So this is my call to you, to seek out games that touch upon less explored perspectives, topics, interests, pockets of history, types of characters, places, and to open yourself up to them. To not seek out games based on neatly defined and divided genre labels, but to embrace strange and often less neatly defined games which can expose us to novel and essential perspectives. The power of games is not just that they can entertain us, but also stimulate our curiosity about the world, stimulate self-inquiry, historical research, reflection, growth, feelings of awe, of inspiration, experiences that span the entire breadth of human emotion. And to me, this is and always has been the true magic of games.
So, video essay title, yeah. But hey, at least it's mercifully short, right? Like, I think this was an appropriate length for this topic, and I think I agree with a lot of what he's saying. So it's interesting to me how much I agree while still completely disagreeing. Like, I first of all, I completely agree with the Will Wright thing. You start playing a game when you first hear about it and start imagining how it plays and stuff. I think that's an interesting point. But I agree more so with what this guy's the person who made this video is saying, which is it maybe matters more the way that a game sticks with you and changes you than how it made you feel while you were playing it. Although, yeah, I also like somehow for me the games I feel like the games that I think a game can be just fun to play, and it can leave a huge impact on you. And I almost think that being fun to play is a requirement to have a huge impact on you, right? Because like your brain is more willing to change when like dopamine isn't dopamine like a big factor in memory formation and like open-mindedness and like I don't know how neuroscience work, but like you know what I'm saying. Like you're not just gonna play a game that you think is boring, and you're not just gonna play a game, think it's super boring, think it's terrible, and have it totally change your mind in some way, right? Change your life in some way, like. It's just that on a very basic level, that's not going to happen, but also on the level of like neuroscience, I think I believe that there are things there that make this make sense. So anyway, I do think it's important for games to be fun, which you could see this like memorable as opposed to fun, right? But yeah, I think the games that are memorable in the right way for me are also fun. But anyway, yeah, he's saying that the true power, his main argument here, I don't agree with, which is that the true power of video games is to like inspire you to like want to learn more about specific subjects, like outside of the game, like you were gonna look up stuff about history and stuff, and like I don't, I'm not poo-pooing this. Like I've had this experience, especially with books. Like I feel like it's stronger with books usually because there are some really old books out there at this point, right? Like you can read 19th century Russian literature. You can read, you know, uh, you can read literature from like 3,000 years ago, right? Like, um, and that I guess this might just have to do with how my brain works. Like for me, facts by themselves, like this gets back to what I was saying actually about Connect Doku last week. Was that last week? Like I don't really care about trivia, like specific facts in isolation. Like I want to have a coherent understanding and like a felt intuitive sense of why something matters, why it's interesting, how it connects to everything else that I know about. I want to have a coherent worldview and understanding of things. That's more interesting to me than a bunch of like, you know, like a basic understanding of what alchemy was or whatever. And and to me, like reading old literature does a really good job of like starting, it kind of starts from the place of what was life actually like for these people? How did these people, the author was living in this time. So like you get a sense from reading the book of how someone, at least one person from that time and place actually thought and how they modeled the world in their head and what the things that they're showing you happening in the book are somehow representative in not just the obvious ways, but in kind of deeper felt intuitive ways of what life was like for them, and for people in that time and place. And to me, I feel like it just works so much better when you start from that, and then, uh, you know, you you branch out into you start learning specific things that relate to that. Like it's like I have the framework and I can fit things into that framework rather than just collecting random facts. Um, maybe some of these games can kind of do that same thing. I'm skeptical just because I've played other games. I've played other games that are kind of along these lines and they did not inspire me in the same way. The other thing is like I'm already inspired to like learn about all these things. I'm inspired to learn about history, like I'm inspired to learn about like I think these things are interesting. There's just a limited amount of time in my life. Like I I don't feel like I need more inspiration in my life to learn about different things. I feel like I need more time in my life to actually go and spend that time learning about those things for real. I feel like I'm overflowing with inspiration to learn about everything. And so to me, the true magic of games is definitely not inspiring me to learn facts or to learn about specific topics. The true magic of games is it does, like he said, have to do with the way that games can change you, the way that they can leave an impact on you and leave you, you know, uh, somehow leave you a different kind of person. But it's much more direct. It's showing you, like I was just saying, like the sculpting of the agency. Like a game can, through incentives and goals and through its incentive structures, a game can get you into a particular mindset and get you into a particular mode of operation. And once you're in there, you can see, you can, you feel firsthand the experience of thinking and acting a particular way. And that is a mind expanding experience. Like first of all, you've learned how to do that. Like by playing the game, you've learned how to act in this particular way better, right? Like when you play, like for a very concrete example, when you play Zachtronics games, especially like TIS 100 and Shenzhen IO, you're not learning the specific, like, you're not learning a real life assembly programming language, which would be more like specific facts, but you are learning how to program an assembly at an abstract level. Like you are learning how to be a good assembly programmer and how to enjoy what's interesting about being an assembly programmer, right? Like, and I think that experience is, to me at least, much more valuable than the inspiration thing. And so, um, yeah, I'm tempted to say it's more valuable in general. Like, and that this is what games should be chasing generally. Like make like expanding people's minds through like direct, like this is the magic of video games to me. Like you can reach into someone's mind and shape it into something that they didn't know that it can do, and now they know that they can do that, and now they've learned how to do that, and now they have a different, not just a different skill set, it's like a different mode of operation that they can get into that in their real life that's potentially relevant for things that they're going to get into in real life, you know? Like I've gotten so much better at thinking, just at thinking really, by playing so many puzzle games. Like I am a better problem solver in a very high level way, from playing so many puzzle games and really trying to get better at them. And it was fun the whole time. I mean, it wasn't fun the whole time, as we're going to see when I do this tier list in a second. It was fun a lot of the time. It was fun when I played the good ones, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I think it's interesting that I want more of this type of thing where people describe very succinctly and clearly like what it is that they like about video games, because there is a lot more variance in that than I would expect. I wonder how much people even relate to the way that I describe why I like video games and what I like about them. Um, what's up, Rockman? Example of a boring game I played is I Want to Kill the Camellia 3, where I didn't really enjoy playing it, but after beating it, it's giving me more confidence to set a goal and do it. Yeah. I don't know if I feel comfortable recommending I Want to Kill the Camellia 3 to anyone, but it's, you know, if you're willing to stick through something like that, it will still have the effect, yeah. But to me, if something's gonna take that much willpower anyway, I might as well do something that's like real life productive, you know? Might as well like get a real project done that is going to yeah, you don't recommend it, yeah. Um yeah, Aloe, maybe he agrees with what I'm saying. Maybe he thinks that that games should improve your life in a more general way, but this entire thing, it's all
Hi, my
about
name is Gil Lawson. I make stream.
it's all about strange games in a very I don't want to say surface level, because like this is interesting. Like I find the aesthetics and the different settings and the different vibes and all of that, I find that very compelling. I'm more interested in these games than the vast majority of games out there. But the way that all of this stuff, all of this whole showcase event has been framed, has been around the audiovisual presentation and not around the gameplay. And so to me, it's like a distraction, right? It's like maybe there is interesting gameplay in the sense that I care about hidden in these games, but they're not advertising that at all, right? And they're not, you know, he's sitting here making an argument, right? This is a 5-minute video making an argument for a way to think about games, and he completely fails if he's trying to, yeah, I really don't think that he's trying to include my way. He's certainly not trying to highlight my way of thinking about it, and I really don't think he's even trying to include it. I think he is specifically interested in the way that games inspire you to learn facts, and that's why he talked about that the whole time. And yeah, by the way, I'm not hating on them for
Hi,
framing the showcase in this way, for making these games that are focused on this rather than being focused on abstract gameplay and all that, because these games sell, right? Because this is a lot closer. This is a lot more compatible with what I was describing earlier about LARP kind of appeal, right? Like you are in a weird setting. Like that is it's compatible with the type of appeal that I was describing about Elden Ring, where you're like imagining that you are the character in this world and all of that. Going on an epic adventure, and like it's compatible with what I said about, you know, I'm in schedule 1, like I'm the crazy drug lord, whatever. It's compatible with that kind of appeal in a way that can sell at least some copies, and in a way that what I would argue for and what I'm trying to defend in games and what I'm trying to highlight in games is not really uh market viable at this point in time. But I'm working on it. I personally play games because the joy enriches my life. I mean, that's enough for sure. But and that's obviously a part of what I want. But yeah, I think you can go all the way on both. I think you can do a 10 out of 10 on both, and the two things actually support each other. Like a game that just gives you joy directly as you're playing it, and a game that leaves you somehow better for having played it. Like I think those two things support each other when you do it well, and when you're trying to do those things. Yeah, yeah, those like paradox type games. A lot of people are into that for this type of reason. And I haven't actually tried playing those games, but I assume the gameplay is not good in the way that I'm looking for. But here's another thing about this. Here's another thing that made me think of the paradox thing specifically. A lot of people get into those paradox games when they're young, and they and I think just a lot of people who think about games in this way, interact with games in this way in general, they kind of grow out of games in like their 20s or something. And that to me is evidence that this is a mode of interfacing with games that doesn't have that much depth. Or at least maybe that's the wrong way of framing it, but like it's a mode that norm that most people don't need much of in their life, right? Which is related to what I was saying. Like I have enough inspiration in my life. I'm 30 something years old. Know I know about alchemy. Like I've heard of all of these things before. The the limitation for me is not lack of knowledge, it's lack of time to learn about all these things deeply in my life. So what I'm saying is like, those types of people, when people interface with games in this way of like wanting to get inspired or appreciating games because they inspire interest in a particular topic, like they'll play paradox games when they're young and then just never play any other kinds of games, and then they'll kind of casually play paradox games throughout the rest of their life maybe, or similar games, but like they don't branch out into into other kinds of games. And games games as a form do not seem to have the level of depth for them that they do for someone like me. And I so I do feel like they're missing something there. I do feel like they they're interacting. This is sort of arguing for this other video, sorry, the one we were just watching. It's sort of arguing for a shallower or a less, just a not quite as expansive and not quite as powerful way of engaging with games. But this is, yeah. um hopefully I made sense. I'm not sure if I thoroughly fleshed out what I was saying there, but yeah. Teaching people better pitch recognition, isn't that something that's like really, really hard for whatever reason after a certain age? Maybe it's possible, but I don't know. Is confronting mortality one of the core tenets of my podcasting style? I did feel like I was hitting on something when I was on when I was on that rant, even though I was mostly what I was feeling when I was on that rant about confronting mortality is I feel really bad for this developer if he watches this. Because I really picked on that game for no reason. But yeah, I felt like I was hitting on something that is well, it's a core tenet of my lifestyle, I think. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's part of my podcasting style because someone made a YouTube comment on one of my recent videos saying like, if you care so much about like, respecting people's time, you should make these videos better or something. I don't remember what he said. I don't remember what he said. Like my rambling was not respecting his time enough or whatever. But you know, there's a balance there because I also only have so much time, and for me to tightly script this type of discussion takes me a lot more preparation time, and then I don't have time to play all these interesting games that give me the interesting thoughts that fuel this discussion in the first place. So like, I it's hard to strike the right balance in these kinds of ways. And yeah, like you would, if I were to take a more classic Matthew Matosis kind of approach, maybe he's doing something different now with these new streams, but if I were to make these heavily edited, super tight, super dense videos that take months to make to talk about a particular topic, like that is in a sense respecting your time more, but in a sense it's not, because I feel like you have time to listen to a really really interesting podcast while you're cooking or while you're doing chores or while you're doing whatever brainless activity, working out. And yeah, so I feel like on balance, it's better for me to get more of this content out and talk about more different topics. And also by doing that, I am getting better at this. So hopefully a year from now, for example, I will be able to talk more coherently, more quickly, less rambling, less stuttering, etc. Who knows? Maybe I'm too growth mindset pilled, and I in fact am at my limit of talking ability. But yeah, confronting more. Yeah, I think people just have a natural tendency, as going back to the confronting mortality point, like people just have a natural tendency to think that they're going to live forever until that they've had certain life experiences. Certain kinds of life experiences make you realize you you are not going to live forever. And I think a lot of people could use a little bit more of a reminder that they need to value their time a little bit more. There's just not, and there's a ton of really interesting stuff to do in the world, and valuable stuff to do in the world, important stuff to do, that you do not have time to do. That's just how it is. And when you're playing 6 out of 10 games and finishing them because you feel obligated to for some dumb reason, like, no, you don't want to do that. It's not worth it. A Matthew Matosis thing I wanted to get back to. Yeah, Matthew Matosis extra. Yeah, so why does this not work? It took me to the live stream place. Yeah, so he did this, which
hello, ladies.
I haven't watched it yet, but I assume
talking to the VOD viewers.
I assume it's like he's gonna play through a game live. I mean, in this case, a game that he's played before, but I think he said he wants to do this with other games. A game that he hasn't played before. I don't know. That might not be true. That might not be true at all. I can't remember what he said, but I just think that this is an interesting. Yeah, presumably he's spending a lot of time talking about the intro and stuff. Yeah, I think this is a valuable thing, and I think that he is probably a lot better at this type of thing than I would be. Just talking about everything that's interesting about a game as he goes through it. And yeah, no, I thought I might have more to say about this, but I just need to watch it. I guess in theory, I would hope that this is interesting for me, partially just because like there's always details to games that you don't notice the first time you play through it, right? And like I am not the biggest Super Metroid person, not the biggest Super Metroid fan, so yeah, it'll just be interesting for someone who loves that game to tell me all the things that they see in it, right? Like in the same way that it might be interesting for me to do something like this for The Witness or Rain World or something. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like I had more to say about this. Yeah, I guess related to what I was just saying about different ways of appreciating games, I am also hoping that this will enlighten me a little bit more about why Matthew's taste differs from mine in pretty significant ways, in surprisingly significant ways sometimes, despite our agreement on really a lot of what seem to be significant topics. Like, yeah, like a lot of his, like when he gets into theory and stuff, I feel like I agree with him on almost everything, and then somehow when we get into the details of like what games we actually prefer, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating the extent to which we seem to agree from the theory. Anyway, yeah, I'm just hoping that this will enlighten me about someone else who has thought about games a lot and has strongly developed and strongly held opinions about them. Maybe we'll be able, maybe I'll get a little bit of insight into what it is that they're looking for in games, right? Which, yeah, something that especially right now I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand how other people, what other people are looking for in games more. Yeah, Super Metroid is a really well put together game. That's interesting, Mika. Yeah, hope you find some good stuff to. Hope you've been finding some good stuff to expand your horizons. Okay. Let me close the this thing. And let me switch to this. I don't even this has already been like a full-length stream without doing this, but let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, see you later, Cerise. So what this is a tier list. You know what it is. It's a tier list. But specifically, it's a tier list where I chose 100 puzzle games that I have played. So this is Octogram ran so Minute Cryptic could walk. Is Minute Cryptic actually newer? Okay, we're not getting into this yet. I don't know why. I don't know what determined the order here, by the way, because this doesn't seem like the order that I chose them in or something. Maybe it's like the order that they auto-sorted in my files, in my Windows file explorer or whatever. Anyway, I've played a lot of puzzle games. I love puzzle games. I don't love all of them, as will become clear. But yeah, these I tried to just choose the most like notable ones in some sense. Obviously, there are going to be, unless you're super into puzzle games, there will be games that you haven't heard of. But if you haven't heard of them, they're probably notable in some way. They're notable within the, you know, they're like acclaimed within the hardcore puzzle community or something like that. I'm trying to understand what some of these even are. Oh wait, let me change to no crop. Okay. This is gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot. Yeah. Okay, let's just get into it. Okay, Octogram. So this is a Jack Lance game. This is one of the last Jack Lance games, RIP. And it's one of my favorites. I think it's basically we'll get to this with lingo, which I also included. But Octogram is basically the witness with words. That's how I think about it. It's um yeah. Every every level, every puzzle is an 8-letter phrase or word or whatever that is your clue, and you have to provide a particular answer. I shouldn't explain that. I shouldn't explain each game in detail. I gotta stop. We're never getting through this if I do this. Okay, Octogram, the witness in words. I love how well it explores that concept. It's almost certainly my favorite witness like that's not the witness. Um, it's frustrating sometimes, but I stuck it through and 100%ed it. I like it a lot. I think A tier. Also, yeah, explaining every puzzle game ever made. Also, I'm not going to do like within tier rankings. We're just gonna do the tiers. Okay, that's gonna be enough. Okay. This is Vexed Edit, another Jack Lance game. This is kind of the first one that really blew up. This is the first Jack Lance game that I found out about. Um, I like it. I kind of blew through it and didn't think that the experience of playing it was that memorable. By the way, a lot of these I'm going to like not remember very well at all. Like I included anything that have I included anything that I've played enough to feel like I have a solid opinion about it. But some of these I played for like a couple hours in like 2008 or something maybe. So I might not have that much to say about some of them, but it's fine because there's 100 of them. um, yeah, I'm gonna throw Vexed Edit in B tier. I think some people would differ with this. A lot of people seem to really like it when it came out, but it's one of my favorite puzzle script games, honestly. But puzzle script games do tend to struggle to hit the top tiers for me, I would say. Enigmash, another Jack Lance game. Um, I actually reviewed this when I was doing the reviews in like 2019 or whatever on YouTube. When I first started doing the YouTube game criticism thing, this is one of the first games I reviewed, and I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. I was doing the scores and everything. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. I remember deliberating between 7 and 8, and I think I gave it a 7 and I regret it and I should have given it an 8. I'm going to put it in A tier. This is, by the way, the game that got him hired to work on Order of the Sinking Star. Jonathan Blow played this game, and um, it's very related. The concept of this game is very clearly related to what they're doing with Order of the Sinking Star, and the concept is like mashing a bunch of different puzzle script games together, and like the borders of the areas like matter to the puzzles. Like you're going from one area into another, and the mechanics change when you move between areas or when you push boxes between areas or whatever. Really, really interesting game. Yeah, really, really interesting concept. There are some things that are annoying about it because it's in puzzle script. This is the era where Jack Lance was like pushing at the boundaries of puzzle script, of what puzzle script can do, right? He worked with other kinds of game creation tools at different points, but there was a phase where he was really trying to do things in puzzle script that were not necessarily really supported. And he actually has a game called Pushing It. I don't know if I included that here, but he has a game called Pushing It where the joke of the game is he's pushing the puzzle script engine to do like really broken stuff. And I do like that game as well. But okay, where's my egg? That feels like a C tier to me. I just talked about it. So I'm not going to talk about it again. Go watch the review if you want to hear me talk about that. This is Skipping Stones to Lonely Homes. Yeah, these are both Draknek games in puzzle script, so I had to make sure I knew which one was which. But yeah, this is Skipping Stones to Lonely Homes. it's one of the games that is the foundation for Order of the Sinking Star, Jonathan Blow's new game. And the mechanics are very interesting, as you'd expect from that. The mechanics have a lot of potential, but yeah, I just don't think there's. Yeah, I don't know. The reveals of the different interactions were surprising, but it's a pretty short game, and I don't know. Something. It's been so long since I played it, but something about Draknek's puzzle design style a lot of the time doesn't totally do it for me, and this game somehow fell into that category for me. But I like the concept, and kind of same thing for Mirror Isles. Again, it's one of the games that's forming the foundation for Order of the Sinking Star, and again, the concept is interesting, but the game itself was not particularly memorable for me. Also, one thing that I want to highlight here, we were just talking about building mental muscles and stuff like that, like looking back at the ways in which your brain has changed, or the way that you interact with games, or the way that you do anything has changed over the years. Like I said, I've gotten a lot better at puzzle games over the years. And I do wonder with a lot of these games how different my experience would be if I played them for the first time now. Like having played all these other games that I've played, but play this for the first time now. So like I really think the order matters. Like I really learned how to think slowly over the course of playing many of these games. And yeah, I just have the sneaking suspicion that my experience with a lot of these games would be pretty different. Like I might like these games more because if I were more actively deducing rather than just kind of fumbling around, maybe it would have been more interesting. Who knows? Okay, we're getting through all of the Order of the Sinking Star related games. So Promised, I think I'm going to put D tier. It feels a little harsh. I think I'll put a C tier. But yeah, I just want to say, for what I was just saying, I am going to just rate these based on like, I'm just rating them based on the experience I had. That's the only thing I can do. Like, I can't just imagine. I can't just try to imagine what it would be like, especially because I haven't played these games in forever. Okay, so Promised, I don't know, not particularly memorable to me. Again, I like the mechanics. I think it's a great pick for Order of the Sinking Star. Wait, this is not Promised. This is Promised. This is Heroes of Sokoban. So honestly, I think the same is going to be true for all of these Sinking Star games. I think the mechanics have potential, but the games themselves were not that inspiring to me. I think I'm going to put them all in C tier, except for Promise 2, which I'm going to put in B tier. Promise 2 is so different from Promised 1, it's crazy. I mean, in theory, Promised 1 has the framing to be something like Promise 2, but it's too easy, I think, to just fumble through it like a normal puzzle game. Promise 2 has this thing where like everything is one giant puzzle and everything affects everything else, and you can get soft locked and have to reset back to the checkpoint that was a long time ago, and you have to like solve all of these puzzles and constantly be thinking about, is this reversible? If you want to try something, you want to think about, is this reversible? Do I have a way of undoing this if I need to? And yeah, you have to think about the whole thing. You have to think about the map holistically in a way that's very unique. So even though I found it frustrating and tedious at times, the uniqueness puts it in B tier, I think. And again, the mechanics are interesting. This for me brought out the potential. There are some good puzzles in this game that brought out the potential that I saw in the first game, but didn't really feel when I played it. And yeah, there's also a lot of like red herrings in this game. If that bothers you, do not play it. I will not. I don't feel comfortable just like recommending it, but I enjoyed it. Cube, this was an incredibly forgettable game for me. This is one of the ones that I played for like 2 hours in like 2008, so I don't know what to say about it. Very forgettable. I honestly wonder if I should put it in F, but I think I'm going to save F for things that actively upset me in some way. Cube is just super forgettable. Yeah, that's a great point. River says, I suspect a lot of these you'd enjoy less if you played them now because you would have absorbed the ideas in them from games they influenced. Yeah, but some of the more unique ones, like I wonder this for Steven Sausage Roll. Like if I would enjoy Steven Sausage Roll more now if I were like now that I'm better at solving puzzles. Because I mean, Steven Sausage Roll obviously influenced things though as well, but the actual set of mechanics in Steven Sausage Roll is really unique. So I wonder if that would, yeah, I don't know. Danganronpa. I don't know why I included this, to be honest with you. What was I thinking? This is not really a puzzle game, but you know, I think, well, okay, like this game has other stuff going on. I guess I included this because I included Phoenix Wright, but Phoenix Wright to me feels much more like an actual puzzle game. You actually have to use your brain. Danganronpa is like so easy that it solves itself. Like it tells you the answer. I don't remember ever struggling in the puzzle part of Danganronpa. And then there's like a big dating sim part that I guess you can kind of skip that though. Anyway, there's all this other crap, and to me it was like so easy though that it wasn't even a puzzle, the game at all. So I feel like I have to put it in F tier. Although honestly, I there are things that are charming about it, right? There are things that are funny about it. If we're rating it as a puzzle game, I'm putting it in F tier. But if I'm rating it as just a game in general, I'd probably put it in D tier. I apologize for including this game, honestly, but I'm going to leave it in F because I don't know if anything else is going in F. Tetrabot and Co., another game that I played like 15 years ago, so I don't know. This is like this was like a notable puzzle game at the time that like I feel like has been completely forgotten. Yeah, but I remember I don't know who talked about it, like Stephen Lavelle or someone like back then before puzzle games really like the modern puzzle game scene really blew up. It's got some interesting mechanics and stuff, but I just find it's too forgettable. Nothing about it was super special, I think. I don't know. Again, I wonder if I came back to it now. Fish fillets. This is like notoriously the hardest puzzle game ever. It's pretty old. It's from like 2004, 2006 or something like that. And so it's kind of got that old puzzle design style where they'll just throw you to the wolves. Like they don't even consider the possibility of caring about the player experience in a Jonathan Blow-ish way. Like red herrings everywhere. Like they're pulling nasty tricks. They're like putting these massive complicated puzzles that like I don't know, like this these are good things I think for the time. For the time, like you might get one game, you know, this might be the only puzzle game you play for years, right? And so when good puzzle games are scarce, you kind of want them to last longer and absorb more attention and fuel obsession like that, right? And it's designed to support that kind of play. And so I respect it for how it's designed for the time, but for coming at it from a modern player, I didn't think that its mechanics were interesting enough to justify the length of the game, the amount of time that it would have taken me to get through the game. I played maybe half of it. Oh, and by the way, if I recall correctly, it doesn't have an undo button. It's you have to like get a mod to get undo, which I did. I did get the mod to get undo. Anyway, I'm gonna put it in B tier. I respect it a lot. I wish I liked it more because some of the puzzles are so crazy that you just have to admire them. Honestly, I'm tempted to go back to it and play it again someday, but it's a big time commitment. It just only gets harder as it goes on. It's just crazy. Hardest puzzle game I've played by far. Filament, super forgettable. Super forgettable, man. Like this, yeah. The secret layer is like so exactly The Witness, but worse. It really bothers me. The Golem, I think I put it in the fish fillets category. Even though it's a modern game, it's not too concerned with having being original, having new ideas. To me, like, I like it when a game is really, really hard and the puzzles take me forever to think about, but I'm thinking about new things that I haven't seen in other games before. So like Snakebird and especially Sneckbird um, are good examples of that. Like some of those puzzles get crazy hard, but it feels worth it to think about, to spend that amount of time thinking about this thing that is new to me. Like I don't so much like something like the Golem where the mechanics are, there's not much to the mechanics that I haven't seen in other games before, so it feels a little bit more like um, puzzle for the sake of the puzzle, which some people obviously like, but it's not really for me. But I did appreciate the difficulty still, and there are some surprises, some mechanical surprises in it. It's just not as dense as I would like. I think, yeah, I think B tier is appropriate. I respect it a lot. The Room, I don't know. This was, I guess, cool back before escape rooms. Nowadays it would probably be lame, but like back, I'm tempted to put it in C. I'm also, by the way, for some of these, I'm doing kind of the whole franchise in one game. Like I played The Room 2 and The Room 3. I don't know. It's not as good as the movie The Room. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'll keep it in D tier. Pretty forgettable to me. Like this type of puzzle just in general doesn't do much for me. You're just kind of messing around with objects until something happens. Yugo puzzle, I'm gonna throw up an A tier. This is the sequel to Jelly No Puzzle, and it's an interesting kind of sequel. It's like redoing the mechanics in a different way. It's like if we took one aspect of how this game works and changed it, and then just made the whole game again. So like a lot of the game feels like repeat content from Jelly No Puzzle, but then, well, the beginning part of the game feels like that, but then it gets into stuff that's like surprisingly different. And I just love this guy's puzzle designs so much. They're just really inspired, and yeah, he has a way of making puzzles that are really scary, but also constrained, so that you look at a puzzle and it seems really hard and overwhelming, but there are ways to slowly deduce your way to the solution if you are thinking about the mechanics in the right way. And these mechanics are very easy to think about, so yeah, I found it very fun. Jelly No Puzzle. First, I don't know why this image is so... I totally failed to find a good image for this game, I guess. I'm putting it in S tier. I love Jelly No Puzzle. Yeah, the sequence near the end. Yeah, that one specific sequence near the end is awesome. they're mogging. Yeah, Jelly No Puzzle is frame mogging, and you know what? It earned it. It's a banger. Especially for the time, man. Like when I went back and played Jelly No Puzzle for the second time, after Steven Sausage Roll and all these other games came out, like it was really striking to me how much this game like originated. Like I really think the puzzle design style, I mean, Braid was really important for defining modern puzzle game design, but I think Jelly No Puzzle was a lot more important than people realize, for bringing that into Sokoban. And yeah, like I think a lot of the Sokoban games that followed this owe a lot to it. And yeah, it's like still underappreciated. This is a free game. Like if you like hard puzzle games, you should go play it. Like it's a super dense game. Like every level has its place. And yeah, there are tutorial levels that feel like maybe they could have done something a little bit better there. There's also a limited undo, which is kind of something, it feels very of its time in that way, but yeah, I think it's great. I think it's really, really good. Some just really satisfying puzzles in there. Magic Cube. I feel weird about this one because I played it pretty recently. I was enjoying it quite a bit at first, but it started getting really stale, and something about the puzzle design stopped working for me at some point later on. Maybe it was just getting repetitive in terms of the ideas and just kind of getting more complicated in a Talos Principle-y kind of way. I'm not sure. Did I include Talos Principle? Surely I did. I don't see it. That was a huge goof if I didn't. Anyway. Oh, this is Talos Principle. Okay. yeah, I thought I was gonna like Magic Cube more than I did. I like that it's got this kind of Sokoban, but in real time thing going on, and I felt it's got a weird brain feel because of that. Um, and because of the way because of certain things about the mechanics and the framing of this game, like and the structure of this game, like it really made me feel like a wizard in a kind of way. I don't know how I'm doing the stupid game critic thing that I was just talking about, game reviewer thing. But you know, look, I don't have time to go deep on all this stuff right now. We need to get a move on. Yeah, it feels super good. Oh yeah. The Android version of Jelly No Puzzle I do not recommend. I do not recommend. Zero Player. I just wrote about it a lot. I'm tempted to put it in S tier, but I think I'm gonna put it in A tier for me. I wrote about why for me I think it doesn't hit quite as hard as it probably does for some people. I suspect for some people this is an S tier. It's very, very unique in a lot of ways, but I think in the ways that matter to me, in a kind of abstract way, it maybe wasn't as unique as you might expect because of weird experiences that I've had with other games like like going super super deep on Syncopause. But Zero Player is an amazing game. I admire it a lot. Just uh wrote a lot of kind words about it, so I won't get too deep into that again. Crypt. So Crypt is the only Michael Bro game on this list. It's the game that inspired Promised. I think I have to put it in A tier. This is a game that I didn't totally love when I played it. I liked it but didn't love it when I played it, but I've come to admire it more over time. And I think I have to put it in A tier. It's a really spoilable game, and I don't want to talk about it, but it's a very unique kind of unhinged puzzle game. Yeah, I really like. You know, Michael Bro is just a true artist, and there are just things that fit together nicely about this game that are beautiful. And yeah, great game. Pipe Push Paradise. I think that's a C tier for me. I kind of thought that the concept would be more interesting to me, but it somehow wasn't. I don't know if it's this guy's, I forget this guy's name, this designer's name, but he's the same guy that made Bonfire Peaks and Hiding Spot and stuff like that. Corey something. Yeah, I don't know if it's his puzzle design style or his puzzle curation style or sequencing style or whatever. Like probably all of those things. Like it doesn't really do it for me somehow. But yeah, it's been a while. Can of Wormholes. I'll go B. I just talked about this with the Matthew Matosis because Matthew Matosis picked it as one of his favorite games of the 2020s so far, and I like it a little less than that. I talked about how, like, to me, I think because I've played so many other puzzle games, if I hadn't played so many other puzzle games, I'd probably value it a little higher. But yeah, it's not quite as original as you might think if you haven't played like Snakebird. Honestly, honestly, the one that I just talked about as well, Pipe Push Paradise, has a lot to do with the mechanics of Can of Wormholes. So yeah, it was a really fun. It was a fun game. I enjoyed playing through it, and I liked that it let me go off route in a certain way, which you saw if you watched the stream. I like did things in an intentionally hard order because I wanted to make the game harder for myself, and that was fun. Snekbird, I think I got to do A tier. I mean, it was my number one game of last year. Number one game that I played last year. I wrote about it a lot already, but yeah, love this game. But there are a lot of things that I really don't like about it. There is an entire world that I think I would have cut from the game if it were me in charge. And yeah, I don't know what's up with the order. Let's do Snakebird. Let's do Snakebird first. It feels bad to put Snakebird in S and not Snekbird, though. Do I like Snekbird that much? I really had an amazing experience with some of those late game puzzles, but a lot of the game... lot of the game just didn't need to be there, but I don't know. I did get through it, but I was a little bit fatigued. I think I would have been a lot less fatigued when I got to the really hard puzzles if I hadn't had to play through a bunch of weak puzzles. Yeah, there's also specific puzzles, even in the parts of the game that I like, there are specific puzzles that do things that kind of bothered me, kind of annoyed me. It's hard. It's hard when a game is really amazing in some ways and not good in other ways. But I think I got to go A tier. But yeah, Snakebird, the original, is very dense and, you know, it just feels like the perfect set of levels for that game. You know, it's your first time experiencing these mechanics, which it's just the most amazing set of mechanics in a game ever. Like, it's the most elegant move set, like, puzzle rule set that you could possibly imagine. Like, it's so good. It's so genius. It facilitates puzzle solving in every from every angle, like by hiding a lot of interesting implications and consequences and interactions within that simple move set, and by being easy to control and easy to think about, and by interacting with the level designs in a way that makes for a wide variety of interesting types of deductions that you can make in the levels. Like, the levels are very deducible. You can look at the levels, and this is similar to Jelly No Puzzle. You can look at the levels and make deductions very, very easily, compared to a lot of games. And yeah, the mechanics really do a lot to facilitate that. Anyway, yeah, amazing game. This game blew my mind when I played it. And even though I actually played it after, playing The Witness and Steven's Sausage Roll, and it still completely blew my mind. Logic Bombs. Logic Bombs is like a B or C tier to me. I think it's a C tier. I just fundamentally the design approach for the game doesn't work for me. I wrote about this on Twitter. It's like it's designed to be like a comfy puzzle solving game and like a serious puzzle solving game at the same time. Like, when I say comfy puzzle solving game, I mean something like daily vanilla Sudoku or Picross or something like that, where you kind of know all the rules and you're just going through, you know, you're just executing the rules that you already know how to use. And when I mean serious puzzle game, I mean something that more to my taste, where, you know, something like Snakebird, where the new levels are supposed to always be teaching you something new. You're supposed to be learning something all the time, figuring out a new type of interaction, figuring out a new thing, a new trick, all the time. And Logic Bombs kind of straddles these two types of design in a way that doesn't work for me. Like, somehow the fact that you don't know whether you're missing something interesting or whether you just need to scan the grid more, like in daily Sudoku, it makes me not want to think more because it doesn't feel worth the effort to think more. It makes me, I'm torn between these two different modes of interacting with the game, and my brain, my subconscious mind resists thinking hard about figuring out new mechanics and stuff like that, because I feel like, in all likelihood, I'm just missing something stupid and I need to scan the grid more. And I just don't like scanning the grid more. And as the game goes on, it becomes more about that. And it conflicts with the interesting part of the game more as the game goes on. So yeah, it's a really well put together game and stuff. And I obviously like Matthew Matosis a lot. So I feel bad putting it in C tier, but I think that's right for me. It's D tier? No. It's not D tier for me. I like the early part of the game quite a bit. D tier is kind of crazy. What is the Heart Game in A? The Heart Game in A is 0 player. All right. Leap year. I'm gonna include the DLC. It's like borderline A B tier. I'm tempted to put it in A just because I like the concept so much, but it was a little like easy for me in the base game, and then the DLC was like hard in a way that I am not a huge fan of, even though I did write about what I do like about it. I would say overall, it's not my favorite type of OP layer. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. That's incredible. Yeah, leap year. I mean, I think it's. I agree that it's almost perfect. For what it is, but that's not. It's not my favorite type of thing. Neither the base game nor the DLC is my favorite type of thing, I would say. Yeah, there were like a couple of tricky moments in the base game that I wish the rest of the game was a little more like that. So I think I'm gonna keep it in B tier. It's really tough. I almost feel like it deserves A tier. I kind of feel like it deserves A tier, but I don't know. Superland, super forgettable. I don't understand why people like this game so much. Scribblenauts Unlimited. I'm gonna drop it in F tier. This is the character action game of puzzle games related to what I was saying before. No, do not play that. Do not play that. I hate that someone made this. I hate that someone made this playable version of Zero Player. I mean, I don't hate that someone made it, but if it ruins the game to play that, like that is not. Yeah, that is not. What is special about Zero Player works because it is not playable. Yeah, yeah. Scribblenauts should have its own tier. Look, I don't know. I'm kind of joking putting this in F tier. I should probably be in D tier, honestly. But it's like the character action game of puzzle games. It gives you like so many tools that like are annoying to figure out what the good tools are, and then once you figure out what the good tools are, the game is like kind of solved, and there's like no middle ground where it's like actually interesting puzzle solving. That's what I remember, at least. I played it 15 years ago, probably. Elekhead, just another really solid. If it's not clear, like B tier and above, I like would comfortably recommend, at least like to the right person, and like I enjoyed my time with it and it felt very much worthwhile. Like all of these games, Fish Fillet is maybe a little a little less, but like I admire the game. I'm glad I played it. Maybe I should drop Golem down a little bit. If I'm considering BC the kind of threshold of whether it was really super worth playing, I think I should drop Golem down. So yeah, let's do that. Elekhead, very solid. Yeah, just like a short action platformer. He recently came out with the game OOO, which has gotten a lot more attention and very deservedly so. It's a good puzzle game for like more casual puzzle game fans. That still also works for people like me who like more hardcore puzzle games. But yeah, if you like OO, you should go back and play Elekhead as well. I think it's just as solid. I probably prefer OO slightly, but I think both are really good. Hex Cells, I just picked one of the Hex Cells games. This is much more in the comfy puzzle game kind of style. I'm not that into it. Patrick's Parabox. This is an interesting game because it's just too easy. It's just way too easy front to back for me. And I feel like for most people, like it's a very easy game compared to typical puzzle games. But you know, that probably makes it really good for some people. People who struggle to get into most puzzle games might like it more, and might kind of see some of the appeal of a more interesting Sokoban game, which typically would be too hard for them. So I admire it, but I really don't like it. I admire it, but I really didn't enjoy it. And ooh, I'm putting same tier as Elekhead. I liked the base game less than Elekhead, but I liked the bonus stuff a lot more in ooh. The bonus stuff, do not miss the bonus stuff in ooh. It's very, very missable. The game does not do a very good job of guiding you to it, and it's hidden, but it's not hidden in a interesting way. I think you should just know that exists, and if you like hard puzzles, you should engage with that, because I liked it a lot. Okay. Should we do all the Zachtronics ones at once? Well, they're just not. I don't have this stuff sorted well at all. We'll just do them as they come up. Okay, Exapunks, a later Zachtronics game. I think I'm gonna go B tier. Yeah, that feels right. It's not my favorite Zachtronics game. It's not my least favorite Zachtronics game. I like it, but I like it feels a little bit one tricky. You kind of there's like a couple of big tricks that you learn, and then a lot of the levels feel pretty repetitive after that point, after you get that down. Which is very different from like TIS 100 and Shenzhen IO, which have those big tricks, but they also have a lot of little tricks, and there's just so much that varies from level to level and like how you should approach them. What you have to think about from level to level. Exapunks did not have that kind of variety to me. I don't think the mechanics facilitated good puzzle design quite as, and varied puzzle design quite as well. But I still liked it. I really liked the presentation. I really liked the mini game. Yeah, the bonus campaign was kind of had interesting, unique kinds of puzzles. I like it. Baba Is You, I'm gonna go maybe against the grain a little bit and put it in B tier. I love the concept, obviously, but it has like twice as many puzzles as it should have, I think. I think this game really needed a pair of scissors. The designer needed to take a pair of scissors and just chop off half the game, I think. Like, I mean, it's not just, it wouldn't be that easy. Like, you'd have to, I think there are a couple of specific worlds or like specific mechanics that do like, you know, they spend half a world on that specific mechanic that were just not good enough. Like, yeah, I'm not going to name specific ones because it's been long enough since I played it that I don't really remember which ones I liked the least and stuff. But like, there's some mechanics that kind of overlap with other mechanics quite a bit, and there's some mechanics, you know, you have a game that's so unique, right? Like Baba Is You. You really want to include, so like the basic concept is really unique, right? But then it has a lot of mechanics like fall, you know, which creates gravity for that character, and you know, mechanic like Sokoban, mechanics that you've seen in other kind of Sokoban-y games, that aren't necessarily super unique, but those mechanics might interact with the base concept in a way that's really interesting, right? And I think he should have been a little bit more picky to only choose the mechanics, you know, the smaller scale mechanics, the words, the specific word mechanics that interact with, that bring more out of the interesting basic concept. Because as it is, like there are entire areas in the game where it doesn't really feel like I'm getting more out of the core concept of the game right now. It just feels like I'm solving Sokoban puzzles where you fall and where you this and that. Like, yeah, the subject matter of the game, of the puzzles, overlaps too much with other puzzle games, and he could have made it a lot less like that, I think. And yeah, I think that's my main issue with the game. Yeah, I don't know if some of the puzzles don't totally hit my favorite type of design either. Oh, the other thing is there's a whole DLC. I don't know how many people have even played this, but there's like a whole second campaign for the game, which I thought was atrocious. Like, that it was like possibly F tier bad. Just like adding different words that do not make for good puzzles at all. Like, don't even make 4 puzzles at all. I don't know how to describe how bad I thought that was. I didn't get very far into it though, so maybe it does get better. But yeah, Baba Is You, I still liked it a lot. Still absolutely worth playing for the concept. And for a lot of the puzzles. A lot of the puzzles are good. Squishcraft. I feel like people don't talk about this game anymore, but really good, like, unhinged puzzle game. Just the mechanics that he thought it was okay to make puzzles out of are kind of unbelievable. Like, you look at the first time these things happen, you just think, oh god. And that's a little bit like the Theta and Paradox's game that I'm playing right now. Will I leave this as a VOD or video? I will. So the on YouTube, the VOD goes unlisted, so you can't find it unless you, like, I guess, have the link because you watched it live. But the reason I do that is because I'm going to post an edited version of this, like, cutting out me answering random questions and cutting out ums and uhs and deliberating and stuff. Cutting out stuff that's not that interesting, and I'll post that on YouTube soonish. But yeah, on Twitch you can watch the full VOD. It'll stay up for 2 months or whatever. Okay, we gotta keep moving. Squishcraft, yeah, I don't know what more to say about it. It's really hard, and it's just insane. Like, I love games that, like Squishcraft and the Theta game that I'm playing now, like, it's just ridiculous. Like, you just laugh when you see things, just surprise you with how outrageous they are, that someone, like, that the designer wasn't insane enough to include this in the game. Like, I just love stuff like that. Just, yeah. It's just different, it's just different than just designers that are bold enough to do something that wacky. And yeah, so a lot of the puzzles are actually genuinely interesting to think about as well. Her story, I think I'm putting in the middle here. I don't know. It's a unique. I haven't played anything quite like it. Yeah, it's like borderline BC, but I will. I'll leave it C. Interesting detective game. I'm not the biggest detective game person in general. I could see other people rating this a lot higher, and I would respect that. But yeah, I like the mechanic. I really like the core mechanic of how you progress in the game. I will say that, and like how it. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I played it. Can't say much more. Glittermitten Grove. So, those who know that Glittermitten Grove is one of the greatest puzzle games. What can you say? What can you say about it, though? I don't know. What can you say? Just leave it at that. Let me just say, if you haven't played Frog Fractions, if you don't know about Frog Fractions, this is the sequel to Frog Fractions. It may or may not be the third game in the Frog Fractions series. I don't know. I don't know how to talk about this without spoiling, but Frog Fractions is worth playing if you haven't played it. And then maybe look into this. Bonfire Peaks, again, just kind of whatever to me. I like it more than Pipe Push. It's from the same designer. I never got into the DLCs, but first of all, the mechanics, the design of the mechanics in this game is kind of a mess. Like, things interact with each other in kind of broken ways that don't make sense, and yeah, but they make for decent puzzles. And I did play through the whole game. I think the whole main game. Super Puzzled Cat. I gotta bump up to the B tier because I admire it. I didn't finish the game, but I'm glad I played it. It's just, you don't see that kind of, so it has so many different mechanics. It's like a puzzle platformer. It has so many different mechanics, but it's not like a sandboxy kind of puzzle game at all. It focuses on just a couple mechanics at a time and focuses on specific interactions like a Sokoban style game would. And yeah, it focuses on those kinds of mechanics in a way that no other game really does. I just, again, wish that they would have used the scissors. I think the game has probably more than 2 times as many puzzles as I would prefer, but it has a meow button. Yeah, it's S tier. Yeah, I feel comfortable with the B tier placement, but I'm very glad it exists. And a few puzzles are just so memorable that I like almost want to put it in A tier, even though I also want to put it in C tier. Okay, I want a lockpick. I don't understand why people like this game. It's it feels also kind of similar to Logic Bombs in that it's got that kind of mixture of like comfy game. Although it's not comfy, it's really strenuous. Like the levels are so complicated that you have to use a lot of brain power to deduce your way through them, and it's always tempting to just get through them by like trial and error or something. Yeah, I didn't get super far into this game. I have the sense that it gets a lot more interesting as it goes on, but I was getting to a point where it was starting to get more interesting, but it was just also getting harder maybe, and I just could not take it. So yeah, it was getting a lot more interesting as it went. So I do wonder what the second part, apparently there's like a second part that's totally different. So I do wonder what that's like, but I couldn't make it through. I spent a couple hours with it and didn't get to anything that was compelling enough to me. Thank you, Aniki. Okay, Recursed. I think I might like it more now, but I think my honest experience was C tier for Recursed. Thanks for the resub, Aniki. Yeah, it's pretty strenuous. Again, pretty strenuous to think about. You have to like remember the level layout when you can't see most of the level layout at any given time. And there's like this recursion core concept going on that's hard to think about. And yeah, I want to bump it up because the concept is unique, but other games have done that. I mean, it's Patrick's Parabox basically. Patrick's Parabox has done it in a way that's easier to think about, but I don't love that game either, so yeah. But I feel like in some kind of weird micro way that's somehow weirdly similar to this, other games have kind of done this concept or something that's similar. Anyway, it's okay. It's a memorable game. It also just does some weird design things that I didn't like. Anyway, that like don't even relate to puzzles. Okay, Drod. I'm sorry, Drod heads. Some people really love Drod. Yeah, not me. Not me. It's just way too many puzzles. And a lot of them are just kind of annoying puzzles. A lot of them are just kind of like, I'm kind of doing like Drod 1 through 3. Those are the ones that I've played. I didn't finish 3 though, because it just felt too much like rehash from the stuff I'd played in 1 and 2. If I'd just played 3 only, I probably would have had the ideal experience for me with Drod. But I didn't want to skip the story, and oh, I don't know. I wanted to try the games. Anyway, yeah, I wish that Drod were different because there's a lot of interesting ideas in it, but it's also like each game is really long and has a lot of like, it's just that old style of puzzle design where they don't mind, like they're not trying to be as dense. They're not trying to respect your time in quite the same way as a modern puzzle designer would. But that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, it was good for the time, you know? Or at least it was better. 7 Days to End with You. I feel like this is super unknown in puzzle game circles, but I really admire it. This is kind of a detective. It's like a visual novel / detective game. That is very hard. I don't know if I'd call this a well-designed game, but I played it with Misa, and we had a really good time, like quote unquote co-oping it, which I think is good for like detective-y games in general, because it's really easy to overlook some little thing and like, you know, waste your time for a really long time. I think it helps to have 2 people kind of covering blind spots for detective-y games. At least detective-y games that don't have some kind of like safety net for you. Like Outer Wilds has the ship log as a safety net, kind of, right? Like if you misunderstand something that you see, or you forget about something that you see, it's always there in the ship log and it's explained clearly in plain text. So you can always just look at the ship log, right? But for most detective-y games like Obra Dinn and 7 Days to End with You, stuff like that, like it's pretty easy to overlook one little thing in a way that's not really the same in a more systemic puzzle game like The Witness or Well, The Witness actually is a little bit more like that than most games, but it's not like a Sokoban game where like you can kind of deduce your way to like narrow down the possibility space for where you might be missing something, you know? It's easier to hone in on exactly where you might be missing something. Whereas like in a detective game like 7 Days to End with You or like Obra Dinn, you could be missing something anywhere on the map. It feels like, right? You could be missing something in any scene, like anywhere, like any type of thing. Like it's very overwhelming to try to get unstuck in these games sometimes. And so for that reason, I feel like it helps to play them co-op. Anyway, for this game in particular, it helps to play co-op because it's too hard. Like I don't think they meant to make it this hard. Partially it's like a translation problem, partially it's just like, yeah, there's some really weird stuff about this game. It's a very unique game. If you like these kinds of games, I recommend trying it. But yeah, it has some serious flaws, but I enjoyed it a lot and I admire it a lot. Monument Valley, super forgettable iOS puzzle game. Yo, Frank. Yo, Samp. Oh yeah, Samp actually recommended that game, 7 Days, didn't you? He recommended that to me. Really good recommendation. Monument Valley is just one of those like kind of comfy or atmospheric puzzle games that isn't actually interesting to think about. So I kind of have to put it in D tier. Myst. I mean, I respect Myst for the time, but I really don't think it holds up very well. I think I have to go C tier. Yeah. I did put Riven on here, right? I really hope I put Riven on here. I don't see it though. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. I like Riven a lot more. Myst just has a lot of that old school point and click adventure kind of difficulty that is like, you know, the bad kind of difficulty. I think of Myst nowadays, I think of it as just a tutorial for Riven. Like it's getting you used to the types of puzzles that they use before you play Riven and get thrown in the deep end and get completely stuck for like 10 hours straight. But yeah, I don't enjoy it that much in its own right. Honestly, I don't think it holds up super well. In Riven, they also improved the basic interaction of like how you move around, like how the mouse cursor shows you. Are you going to like turn around when you click here, or are you going to turn left, or are you going to whatever? They really improved that kind of stuff in Riven and improved a lot of things in Riven. It's just a better game in every way. Other than, you know, unless it's just too hard for you or something, which it very well might be. But I think Riven is the better game by a wide margin. Antichamber I'm very fond of. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it solidly at a B tier level, I think. It obviously very unique. There's nothing else like it. It's kind of weird the way that like some aspects of it are a lot less unique than other aspects, and it's just all kind of meshed together. Like there's the weird 3D, that kind of like non-Euclidean space and like teleporting around and like all kinds of, you know, the room shifting around you, that kind of stuff is very unique. But then you get like a little gun that shoots out little blocks and you solve puzzles with the little blocks, and some of those felt a lot less unique. And so it's just interesting that that's in there as well. Like, would it just not have felt like a meaty enough game without that, or what? I don't know, because I don't remember it necessarily, those two parts of the game necessarily supporting each other that much, although maybe they did actually. It's just been a long time since I played it, so probably getting some details fuzzy in my head. But yeah, I like it a lot. Layton. I'm considering this to be like all the Layton games I've played. I haven't played a lot of the later ones, but I've played a good number. I've played probably 3 to completion and maybe more of another 1 or 2. I don't know. I think I have to go C tier. I find it very charming, and those kind of puzzles are enjoyable to me a lot of the time, but also a lot of the time they're not. And Uh, they just don't have the opportunity to build on one particular type of puzzle in this format, right? Like the variety puzzle format just doesn't give them the opportunity to sequence the puzzles, to build on the ideas within a particular style of puzzle. Yeah, it just doesn't get deep on any of them, and so I prefer a more focused puzzle game. But it is what it is. It's good at what it does. Shenzhen. Um, is it S tier for me? I think I'll put it A tier. One of my favorite Zachtronics games, maybe my favorite Zachtronics game. I already talked about it a little bit before. Yeah, just love how hard it is. Love the way in which the bonus campaign is really hard. Like solving specific problems that are weird and push the game systems in different directions. Yeah. There's just so much depth to this concept. I love how I think Matthew Matosis talked about this in his review of this game, but the chips, the concept of putting chips together on this grid, and then within each chip you have code, it kind of evolves the TIS 100 code concept in a way that relates back to Space Chem, how you have to place the factory or connect the factories. That's like there's different layers to the puzzle, right? And I think that creates more depth in a certain way that kind of offsets the loss of depth from the assembly language in this game. The assembly language in this game is not quite as rich with cool tricks as the TIS 100 one, but the chip thing kind of offsets that in an interesting way. And I think it's really, really well done. This is almost an S tier for me, but I'll keep it A. I'll keep the S really exclusive. Speaking of S being really exclusive, this is just the GOAT, right? This is just the GOAT. I have to play the Neverhood. The Neverhood. I don't know. Don't know if I've heard of that. I'm also not sure about time lapse. I'm not organizing each tier like that. I'm not organizing them like that. We're just putting them up there. We'll let the witness be where it is. I know you want me to do it anyway. Part of me is tempted to do it anyway, but look, Jelly is frame mogging, okay? Jelly's over here frame mogging. We can't really get through that. Yeah, I don't really like old point and click that much. So I don't know about time lapse. I always want to like old point and click. It has a certain story integrated with puzzles type of thing going on that I want to like, but I think the modern detective kind of game like Obra Dinn and stuff like that does it better. And honestly, I've written about this before, but like honestly, a mystery novel does it better for me. Like it's just a much more elegant form of the mystery story that I can read through, and I can stop while I'm reading through it and think about like the puzzles, right? Like I can think about, oh, can I figure out who did it right now? Or can I figure out some part of it, or why this is here, or whatever, why this happened this way. Like you can take it on yourself to approach a mystery novel in a gamey kind of way and have a very similar kind of experience that you would have with a detective game. And I just kind of prefer that form. There's something very inelegant about stuff like Obra Dinn and Golden Idol, where like you can kind of trial and error things, and like, yeah, the game has to be structured, the story has to be written, and the game has to be structured in a very particular way to allow you to check your answers in the way that, yeah, I don't know. Games like Her Story and Type Help do a better job of making that work well, but anyway, we won't linger on that point forever. Void Stranger, I kind of hate this game. I kind of want to put it in F tier, but there are parts of it that I liked a lot. I really liked the snake puzzle. That was like the most unhinged puzzle in the game. There are two standout moments in this game that are incredibly unhinged. One of them is the snake one, and then one of them is I can't even say what it is because I don't remember what the actual hint for this puzzle is, but it's a kind of La Mulana-esque unhinged kind of puzzle that I'm thinking of, and very late in the game or in the post game, depending on how you think about the structure of this game. I love the structure of this game. I just love how weird this game is and how it has these layers and layers that you keep peeling back and they influence each other in interesting ways. And like, I like it when a game gives me an interesting experience of peeling back those layers and solving puzzles to figure out more and more of what this game even is. I love being involved in that kind of mystery, and I love it so much that I feel like this game was manipulative to me. Like, I sat through a lot of boring stuff in this game because I wanted to see more of the mystery stuff, and there just was not enough and not interesting enough mystery stuff that it felt like it paid off for me. And yeah, it's a really interesting game. I in some ways admire it, but I also in some ways hate it, and I feel like D tier is fitting. Inside is another one that I don't even know why I included it. Like, as a puzzle game, I don't know if this is very good. Let's... Do I want to move Danganronpa up? Here's what I want to do. I want to be a little bit more strict here. I want to move Void Stranger to F. Yeah. Honestly, now I'm tempted to move some of these other things to F. Scribblenauts to F. Okay, but Inside is not F. I don't know. The D and F feels wrong because, like, these are the games that are more special. So why am I putting them in F? Why don't the forgettable ones end up in F? Am I about to swap the entire D and F tiers? I think I am. I think I'm about to swap the entire D and F tiers. Okay, anyway, let's get Inside out of F tier because it's definitely not F tier. I like Inside. It is what it is. For that kind of game, it does it better than any other, I think. This is just hilarious that this is what I'm doing right now. Okay. That feels... Does this feel good? It doesn't... It feels a little too strict. Let's bump up a few. Superland is at least unique. Tetrabot doesn't feel like it was that bad. Drod has some things that I like about it. Wanna Lockpick felt like it was going to get more interesting. All right, this feels good. This feels pretty good. Hex Cells is good for what it is, but it's just really not for me. Okay. Inside, yeah, I don't know. The puzzles are whatever, but like the puzzles integrated into the experience are really good, I think. This has some crazy art direction and polish. Like, there's some things in this game that are crazy. Okay. We're like, are we halfway through yet? Probably not. Okay, let's try to speed it up a little bit. Talos. We're going D on Talos. I've talked about it before, but the puzzles are just so repetitive conceptually. Like, there's a few tricks that you learn early on in the game, and they just repeat the entire game, and I can't do it. The story is okay though. I kind of like the story. Maybe I bump it up for story. And the DLC is a little better, and some of the bonus puzzles are kind of nice. Yeah, we'll keep it C. Riven. Tempted to put Riven S tier, but there's some stuff that's kind of frustrating about it, and yeah, it's probably it's like too hard some of the time and not hard enough other times. But anyway, it's a really special game. It's a really special game. I think I want to put it in S tier. I love Riven. Yeah, it's a really special game. Yeah, I think the flaws are not enough of a problem for me. There's just nothing like it. Like, the way that it leans in so hard on world building, and the puzzles are almost a secondary thing to the world building, but you have to solve the puzzles to get places, but it feels so much more natural. it is still forced in, it is still unnatural sometimes in certain ways, but like, yeah, it's like you feel like you were trying to understand this world the whole time, and the puzzles make sense with it in a certain way that other games don't even try to do. And when they do try, they fail. And this expects you to make some huge, crazy leaps. The difficulty of this game is outrageous. Like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish it by myself, even when I came back to it as an adult, like very recently, actually. But yeah, amazing game. Amazing game. Amazing game. Lock. So I actually played the non-digital version of Lock, but I assume Lock Digital is like the same. I don't know. It might barely make the B tier. It's a kind of Witness like. I don't know. It feels. I have forgotten too much about this game, considering how recently I played it. I think I've forgotten too much about it for it to justify a B tier placement. But it does some things that are different, that are interesting. The concept is interesting, and it doesn't overstay its welcome or anything like that. But yeah, it's kind of forgettable, I guess. Jelly is Sticky kind of hated this game. Extremely forgettable. Extremely repetitive. There's just not that much to it. There's nothing to the mechanics that I haven't seen in other puzzle games, pretty much. Really didn't like it. Yeah, so we got Jelly spanning the entire tier list here. The Gostak, I think I'm putting in C. Like, it's an interactive fiction game where you like learn a fake language and use the fake language to interact with the game. I don't like it. I just didn't like it as much as a lot of people do. Yeah, I didn't feel like learning the language was anything. I didn't think that it didn't make deep, interesting things happen in my brain. It just felt like a layer of obfuscation, or not obfuscation. It just felt like a layer of thing that I had to do to interact with the game. It just didn't spark any strange activity in my brain that you might expect it to do by being such a weird game. Like, yeah, the actual experience of playing it did not live up to the concept in terms of how crazy it actually felt, or how strange it actually felt, or whatever. Mostly it just felt like playing a pretty good interactive fiction game, which I don't like interactive fiction games that much. Like, text adventure is what we're talking about here. So yeah, I'll go C tier. English Country Tune, this is one I feel like I should revisit, but I think I'm gonna go C tier for that as well. It's decent, but I didn't finish it. But I found the puzzles kind of hard to think about sometimes, and I wonder if I would have a better time with it now, being better at puzzles. Pony Island, it's memorable. Is it quite memorable enough to go to B tier? It's like, yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot when I played it, but no, I like it. Yeah, I liked it a lot when I played it. Yeah, we gotta go B tier. Yeah, there's just nothing else like it. It is a puzzle game. Like, it is much more puzzly than you might think from what kind of game it is. And just the type, it is too easy, and some of the puzzles are kind of tedious, but like the types of puzzles that you're solving sometimes in this game are pretty different from any other game I can think of. And it's just a good, tight experience. Like, yeah, it's solid. Type Help. I wanted to like this game. This is a text adventure kind of detective game. The ending I found a little bit unsatisfying, and a lot of the quote-unquote puzzles are more just like, this is a problem that these detective-y kind of games run into a lot, where they're less puzzle solve. The activity that you're doing is less puzzle solving and more bringing together information from different sources. Like, there's no actual puzzle. You just see, like, over here you learn that A implies B, and over here you learn that B implies C. So you put those together and you learn that A implies C, and it's just obvious if you have those two pieces of information. It's obvious that they slot together in that kind of way, and like, yeah, yeah, this the whole game felt like a lot of that. But there were the concept of the story concept is very cool, and I like how that fits together with the mechanics and how you move through the game and how you progress through the game. But disappointed by the actual content of the game, I guess. Like, some things about the story didn't make total sense, I think, especially the meta parts. And yeah, wish there were more real deductions to make. Yeah, English country tune. Yeah, I agree with that, Don. This has been a lot of talking for me. Throat kind of hurts. We're almost done though. I think if you're waiting for Egg Game, I think I might come back and stream Egg Game tomorrow or something, because this is just a long stream already. So I tried Lingo. I didn't play it for very long. I maybe not even 2 hours. But I I really want to like it, but the first one, I get the sense that the second one is better in this regard, but the first one is just really sloppy design wise. There's stuff that you have to figure out that's like, huh? Just like not, just like totally on top, totally off topic difficulty. And like, yeah, the consistency of the on topic puzzles was also not great. I just didn't make it far into it. I think if you want a word game, that's kind of Witness like, you go Octogram every day. Every single day of the week. You go Octogram. I might even put this D tier. Yeah, I'll put it D tier. I get the sense that 2 would at least be C tier, but I haven't tried it. The Looker, I find it kind of offensive, honestly. It's not mean-spirited like the guy who made the game. It's a parody of The Witness, right? And the guy who made the game obviously likes The Witness. And has made it clear that he likes The Witness, but I actually do find it a bit mean-spirited, especially the parts about the audio logs. It's just the type of thing that you don't find funny, or at least don't find very funny if you understand what's great about the audio logs in The Witness. And the problem is, almost no one understands what's great about the audio logs in The Witness. So it's tough to... Yeah. More importantly, the graphics are bad. It's whatever. It's whatever. We Were Here. I just picked one of the We Were Here games. Oh, but yeah, it is kind of, I mean, it's a creative game. There's interesting stuff in it. If you approach it as a real puzzle game, The Looker, you approach it as a real puzzle game, like, some of the puzzles can be kind of annoying. Like, I remember it didn't give me credit for like a line that I drew in a certain way that I couldn't imagine why it wouldn't give me credit. And then I started trying other stuff for a really long time before I tried the first thing again. Like, there's just that kind of janky stuff, like, you know, low effort parody game, what you would expect from this game. But there were also interesting and funny things in the game for sure. We Were Here Together. So I'm just doing the entire We Were Here series. I think I'm going to put it C tier. Yeah, it's very much the type of thing that you get out of a solid escape room. The consistency of the puzzles is not great as you would expect from a normal escape room. But yeah, it's fun sometimes. As a co-op game, you know, there's not a lot of great co-op puzzle games out there, so it's cool for what it is. Heaven's Vault, I kind of hated it. I didn't understand what the puzzle was supposed to be even. And I felt like it was wasting my time. It was so slow. It was so slow paced in a way that wasn't justified. I couldn't get to the part where anything was actually a puzzle. It just was so slow, and I couldn't find the puzzles. But apparently this is a puzzle game. I don't know. I don't know. Someone tell me if I'm missing something there. Taiji. Taiji, I think B tier is appropriate. Like, you know, it's a witness like very self-consciously. It is almost trying to be like a witness clone as much as it possibly can be within like a 2D game. It's like witness worship almost, but it does a very good job of that, and it does things, there's far worse games to be directly obviously inspired by than The Witness, and it has really nice art direction and stuff for like basically a one-man project, and um yeah, it does enough that's different to be absolutely worth playing. I liked the final secret thing quite a bit. A few of them in particular, a few of those final secret things in particular. World of Goo, I think I gotta go D tier. This is like one of these games that people used to hail as like the greatest puzzle game ever. Like, I guess some people really still love the physicsy, sandboxy feeling kind of puzzle games. I just don't get it myself. It always feels like they're so. It feels the same as like a Breath of the Wild puzzles or Tears of the Kingdom building a machine type of puzzles. I don't really get why that would be interesting. I just really don't. I like a more constrained rule set and constrained puzzles, constrained level designs, as I've said. Like you can make a puzzle game that's much more focused on the things that are interesting if you lead the player more directly, more directly to the specific things that are interesting. So yeah, I just always assume that there's nothing interesting in there. Like when they don't lead me to the interesting things, I just assume it's not that interesting. Yeah. The Witness was open world AF. Yeah, but I'm saying it's open world in a big picture, but when you choose an area, like, you can do the areas in any order, but within each area, it's building up your knowledge of this topic, and each puzzle is like very constrained so that you have to figure out a specific idea. You have to follow the logic of the puzzle's design to solve it, ideally. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's constrained. Each puzzle is constrained, and the sequencing of the puzzles is constrained, even though the overall world is open. There's a World of Goo too. Space Kim up here with Shenzhen as one of my favorite Zachtronics games. Yeah, it's a banger. It's a little hard to get into. The tutorialization is really bad. Because it was their first game. I think it like links you to somewhere outside the game to like watch the tutorial, like a YouTube video. But yeah, once you get the basics down, it's really interesting. I also think it goes on, it overstays its welcome a little bit. Some of the late game puzzles were a little painful, but the mechanics are really unique and good. And yeah, it's a different angle on the Zachtronics thing than the later games, even though I might say I like TIS 100 or Shenzhen more, but Space Chem is a different angle, and it came first, which, that's notable. Gorogoa, I think I have to put in B tier. This is like barely a puzzle game. It's like a much more point and click style, but it's just a very unique experience, and I think it's thematically very interesting. Yeah, the reasons I like it are very different from the reasons I like everything else on this list. So again, maybe I shouldn't have included it. But yeah, really unique quote unquote puzzle game. Don't know what more I can say about that. It's been a while since I played it. TIS, yeah, already talked about it. A tier, banger. La Mulana, I think I have to go B tier. There's a lot that I don't like about La Mulana. La Mulana is another one of these ones where I feel like it should go both A and C, so I feel like I have to put it in B. Yeah, I had some amazing transcendent moments with La Mulana, and I also had some very painful, frustrating moments and a lot of wasted time with La Mulana. And, it's one of those games that the mystery, like I was talking about with Void Stranger, the mystery compels me. I want to see more of this game because I'm so curious. Like it gets my curiosity going. Like this was one of the most captivating games I've ever played, La Mulana. But that's not necessarily correlated with how much I felt it was worth it after the fact and how much I admired it after the fact. Like The Witness was top tier captivating for me and top tier felt worthwhile after the fact. Whereas La Mulana and certainly Void Stranger like were top tier captivating and it felt maybe not earned to some degree. But La Mulana I still like a lot overall. It just at some point gets unhinged in ways that make for a bad experience, I think. At least for me. I also really wish it just told me to use a notebook instead of having a mechanic in the game that lets you take notes, right? Like the fact that you have a mechanic in the game that tells you to take notes. I know that literally everyone says when you play La Mulana you should take notes, but when I played the game, I was like, oh, there's like an in-game notebook, so it feels kind of like I'm going against that aspect of the design if I take my own notes outside of the game. I should just use the in-game note-taking tool. Like, I would not have included that, and I would have specifically said use a notebook. Anyway. I don't think it would have... I probably would have had a better experience with the game if I had used a notebook, but maybe not better enough to reach A tier? Not sure. Monsters Expedition I like a lot. I don't know if I quite like it S tier. I think I'll go A tier. I think yeah, there's a little bit too much. At every stage of the game, there's a little bit too much game. They needed the scissors, but the bonus puzzles, the secret, more meta puzzles, I really, really enjoyed. I got lost in that for many hours. And yeah, they're different from I'm putting it in S tier. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. The main game and solving all the regular puzzles, it's too much. I don't like having a lot of easy puzzles to go through before I get to the part of the game that I like, or that's really for me. But it's relatively breezy. You can get through it pretty quickly, and then there is a lot. Like it's a small amount of overall play. It's a small percentage of overall playtime going through the easy puzzles. There's a lot of meat to the secrets. It goes crazy, especially now with the update. There was a big update in like 2022 or I don't know, sometime a couple years after the base game came out. They did a big update. The game is just huge, and I really enjoyed a lot of it. So yeah, S tier feels appropriate. Yeah, if main game was too easy for you, definitely stick around for the post game. But I also like that it exists as an entry level Sokoban game, for a more normal, or more more normal skill level puzzle game fan, because a lot of the best puzzle games are just tuned for the hardcore players. Which obviously I like that as well, but it is nice that this exists. But it does annoy me that when games are two different difficulty levels at once and I have to deal with both of them, right? I have to play both of them. I want just a whole game that is tuned for me and a different game to be tuned for someone else. Or at least, you can also just do difficulty levels. You can make different sets of puzzles for different skill levels. Anyway, the gain insight thing that's becoming popular is sort of in that direction, but I still would prefer just a curated full experience of easier versus harder puzzles. Infinifactory I liked. Yeah, I'd say I liked it about as much as Exapunks. Yeah. I think some of the optimization stuff in this game is pretty interesting, but it felt kind of grindy getting to the end of the main puzzles. Yeah, it doesn't. It's the only 3D Zachtronics game, so it feels weird putting it in C tier. It feels like it should. Yeah, I'll put it in B tier. I think it's worth playing. Yeah, it's got stuff that's different about it compared to the other Zachtronics games, but I almost want to put it in C tier. There's a lot that yeah, I felt like it went on too long. It felt like not all of it was super interesting. Tunic. I think I gotta go S tier on Tunic. Which is strange because a lot of what I like about it is kind of derivative. I don't want to say. I guess I can just say it does things that are derivative from The Witness, and then the like actiony stuff is kind of Dark Souls. Well, the exploration-y kind of stuff is Dark Souls, and you could say the bosses are kind of Souls-like in a way. All the different elements of the game feel kind of derivative, and there's this main concept of the manual that is really nice, and there are some other big picture cool things about the game, but they don't really affect the experience of playing the game most of the time. The experience of playing the game most of the time is like kind of a different version of things I've seen in other games. But it's just all so well done, and it's a nice cohesive package, and it didn't waste my time. I didn't feel like it ever wasted my time, really. Now, if I were worse at action games, if I struggled with the boss fights, like some people I know did, I would feel differently about that. But for me, it didn't waste my time. And yeah, it's just a really carefully put together game. Yeah, it just does what it does extremely well. And there are a nice number of surprises in the post game secrets and stuff. Yeah, post game was amazing. Golden Idol. Think I gotta hit it with the D. Maybe this is offensive, but I just couldn't get that far into it. It very much felt like a putting the information together game more so than a puzzle solving game, like I was talking about with Type Help. Maybe less so though. I don't know. I've heard. I probably shouldn't have included this because I really need to give this game another chance. I didn't get that far into it. I have heard there's more of a puzzle-y game of like figuring out the meta story that goes between the different, the different levels. I don't know. I'll keep it in C tier. It's got nice art direction and stuff sometimes. Like some of the scenes are just interesting in a purely like presentation-y kind of way. Yeah. Yeah, as a puzzle game, I was kind of disappointed, but I should probably give it another go sometime. Obra Dinn. So I still haven't finished this game, which makes me hesitate to put it in the A tier. But I feel like when I go back to it and finally play it for real all the way through, I feel like it's likely going to end up in the A tier. But I feel like I have to put it in the B tier for now. Again, I'm just not as big on these detective-y games as some people are, as most people seem to be. My stomach's going crazy. This stream is going on forever. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost done. Yeah, I mean, you have to admire the way that he crafted this game. You know, the story, the visuals, just the sense of cool, it's just a cool game in a lot of ways. Great question, Kita. Do I like world building or solving puzzles more? I mean, in a game, I think I like solving puzzles more usually. I like world building if it's good, but I think I think world building is the type of thing that for me works as a secondary element, that I am not really going to get into the world building unless I'm enjoying the game baseline moment to moment for a while, So like if the game has good puzzles, it keeps me going for a while, and then eventually, I've seen enough that I can put things together about the world and get into it on that level. But yeah, it doesn't really work as the primary thing for me, at least usually not. Like no one gets into Dark Souls and gets hooked by the world building, like by the by the, maybe this is not true, but I feel like most people, when they play Dark Souls, they don't get hooked by the text, by the item descriptions. Like that's not what hooks them into enjoying the game. They enjoy the game, and then because they enjoy the game, they get into the item descriptions in an autistic way and enjoy that. Okay. Portal 2. I think I'll go C. I don't know. There's nothing quite like it. Like the co-op is nice. The co-op puzzles actually are pretty nice. But yeah, not all the game totally hits the mark for me. The new mechanics they added feel kind of forced and arbitrary, and it's got that kind of, the single player especially has that kind of characteristic Valve design where just it feels like you're playing this game where all the rough edges have been sanded off, you know. They have polished it through playtesting to a point where nothing interesting is allowed to happen, right? You know, I was talking about Squishcraft and how unhinged it is, and you know, I like these games where weird stuff and crazy stuff is allowed to happen, and because they're trying to sell to a mass audience, they do not allow things like that to happen in the later era Valve games like Portal 2. So yeah, not a big fan of that. Helltaker, F. Easy F. I don't think anyone likes this for the puzzles. Does anyone like this for the puzzles? I think they like it because there's anime girls or whatever. Yeah. I thought the puzzles were not good. They weren't even like hard, not good. They were just not good and easy and boring. The bridge, easy F. This is one of these things that's like unique in a way that's like, you know, it's obviously inspired by a certain like visual artist, and it doesn't feel like it's adding anything to that aesthetic or it's using that aesthetic in an inspired way to make something new happen. It's just taking that artist's work and using it in a shallow attention grabby kind of way. I thought the puzzles really sucked, but it's been a while since I played it. Could be misremembering, or I could have been missing something at the time, but it also just felt very slow. Yeah, I don't know. Islands of Insight, another easy F, actually. I think everyone knows why I don't like this game. I don't know. I only played the demo, but the demo was pretty meaty and I couldn't get to anything that I liked. Yeah. It's just an open world that has very little reason to exist other than to sell copies. And it didn't even manage to do that. It didn't even manage to sell copies. And the actual puzzles are just puzzles that I could find. I could find better puzzles if I go out of my way to find difficult logic puzzles on certain, or like in the Thinky Puzzle Games Discord, I could go to the Pen and Paper Puzzles channel and find better puzzles, I'm sure. Or at least a better curated set of puzzles for me. Didn't like it. Islands of Sea and Sky, whatever it's called, got cut off. When I played the demo for this, I actually tweeted about it saying the demo was one of the best things I played like all year. This was several years ago at this point. And then somehow in the 4 years between the demo and the game, I just didn't care at all when I played this game. I just did not care one bit. Yeah, I was kind of baffled when I played it. Like, did my taste change this much? Did I play so many other puzzle games that I just got sick of these kind of ideas? Or is it just because a lot of this is like, you know, replaying stuff from that was in the demo, so like I gotta just get through it? But then I got through it and got to new stuff and I was not enjoying it. Yeah, I don't know. I thought this would have kind of a comfy Zelda game. Like, it's kind of got this Link's Awakening vibe that I really like. Yeah, I thought it would be the good version of combining comfy puzzle game with hardcore puzzle game. But I just bounced off of it really hard. I don't know. Maybe I should give it another try sometime, but not sure. Chips Challenge. This game sucks. This game is kind of a meme among some of us, uh, because Agent. This is the Agent puzzle game. Agent Butt F who hangs around here. I just think it's so horrible. Like it's the worst version of old school puzzle design where yeah, it's just because you played it when you were 5 or whatever, but it's just the worst version of old school puzzle game design where it's just trial and error. Like you just try something and you don't have all the information on the screen at one time, and it's just trying to trick you in like stupid ways that aren't even funny or interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of that stuff hit at the time in a way where it doesn't now, but yikes. I don't like it. Ace Attorney, I'm just doing the series overall here. I can't help but like it. Some of the puzzles, I have problems with the specific puzzles sometimes, but I can't help but like the series overall. It's just full of character, right? Like the music, the animations, and the character designs, the scenarios, the writing for the scenarios. Like I almost want to bump it up to A, but that seems crazy because I struggle to even get through the games sometimes. But yeah, B feels appropriate. I respect the series a lot. I'm always tempted to go back and play more of them. Like I haven't played the great Ace Attorney games. I probably should. Ace Attorney isn't a puzzle game. I think it is substantially a puzzle game. You have to figure out detective-y things. I'm counting detective-y games as puzzle games here, right? You have to figure out detective-y things, and then it punishes you if you don't figure them out. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not very puzzly, but a lot of the time it is. I think it is substantially a puzzle game. Yeah, Tunic is also substantially a puzzle game. Maybe not all of it, but some parts of the game. Enough of the game is that I'm counting it that way. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. I don't remember much about the game, honestly. It's cool that they tried this different kind of perspective for a game, different type of puzzle game, but yeah, it feels like it's for 5-year-olds. I have a review video on this? Captain Toad Treasure Tracker? Yeah, I kind of like it. I feel like there is someone. I feel like there is an audience that likes this game. That this game is good for. No, I don't. I don't think I reviewed this game. But yeah, not for me. Really, not for me. Braid. We're going all the way to the top with Braid. I love Braid, man. I think it's so underrated still. I think even the blowhards, right? Bread. Yeah. Bread is definitely S tier. Even a lot of what am I saying, man? Even a lot of the blowhards, the big Jonathan Blow fanboys underrate Braid, I feel like. When I first played it, I underrated it. When I came back to it, I understood what he was going for with the story a lot more. I understood how I don't know what I want to spoil here. I'll just say there is a thing that people focus on, and I think the way that the game presents it, people focus on the wrong aspect of the story. And I think that is a failing of the game, but there is all this other story stuff that people do not focus on in the right way. Like the main chapters story writing, I think is really excellent and frames the gameplay in a really nice way. And the gameplay and the story interact in such a way that it elevates what would otherwise be, good but not amazing gameplay for the main story. Honestly, the gameplay for the main story is still really special, just because it's playing with these mechanics that you don't see anywhere else. And like, even though it's not that hard, it's weird. The main game puzzles of Braid are like not that hard in an absolute sense, but because it's so unique, because it's so different from anything else you've ever played and hard to wrap your head around, it's like so different from the way the normal physical world operates. The rules of the game are so different. It's like the game can get away with being a little bit easier and still in some kind of absolute sense, and still feel harder than it is. Like, yeah. But then, yeah, it has extra stuff that, yeah, I feel like it's inappropriate to talk about that too much. But that's also a big part of why I love the game. So I feel like I have to mention it. The stuff that is most missable about this game, story and otherwise, is what makes me love it the most. I will say that. Yeah, I could talk about the game forever, but I won't. The Root Trees Are Dead, kind of hated it. Kind of hated it. Insane game for its time as well. Yeah, absolutely. Braid was one of the most... When people talk about most influential or most important games ever, I want to put Braid in there. I really do. Because, like, the number of great games that probably wouldn't exist in the same way if not for Braid is wild. But, of course, people just don't think of puzzle games as important or influential in general. So it's hard to make that claim. But for me, I think Braid is one of the most important or influential games ever made. Like, if you consider, yeah, when it came out and everything. I would easily rank it above Doom or maybe even above like Super Mario Bros. It's hard to say that, but like for me, when I think about important or influential games, I was talking about this on Twitter recently, I have to think about the counterfactual. Like, if this game did not exist, would these ideas still have come about? How likely is it that these same ideas would have come about in the next 5 years or something anyway, right? Like, were these ideas kind of in the air? Like, I think a lot of the ideas for Doom were kind of in the air, and design-wise, Doom is not as influential. Design-wise, Doom is not as influential as people often give it credit for. You know, I think without thinking, they really give it credit for stuff that was really just in the air, and was a kind of already happening anyway. If you look at some of the arcade games at the time, and like, you know, even Wolfenstein, like, it's a lot of the way there. Anyway, yeah, Super Mario Bros. I think originated a lot of things, but I do wonder how much of that would have happened anyway. If a lot of it feels like low-hanging fruit in a way that the design of Braid feels like if we hadn't gotten that, we might not have gotten all these later great puzzle games. So yeah, it's hard to think about these things, but my point is, I think Braid is much more influential and important than people realize. Portal, I like it more than Portal 2, maybe just because I played it first, but it's, you know, it's more of a focused game. It's more focused on what's unique about the concept than Portal 2. Yeah. It at the time that I played it when I was really young, so the fact that it was really easy probably didn't really bother me. Yeah, the humor was not quite as cringe back then as it might be now. I'm not sure if it would be, but Good Snowman again kind of falls into this Drachneck category. It's got that kind of Drachneck puzzle design that just doesn't really do much for me. Maybe it's just because the systems aren't interesting enough to justify that long of a game. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, it just doesn't stand out in my memory much at all. It's just crazy that he made Monsters Expedition. Like, all his other games are like firmly C tier to me, and all the games that he like funds and publishes as well, you know, like Bonfire Peaks and stuff. Anyway, Pack-a-Red down the bun burrows. I want to like this game for how unhinged it is, but I didn't. I'm going to go C tier. We're getting a nice bell curve here. Although not so much in the D, mostly just... Anyway. Yeah. It didn't feel like it was respecting my time. It felt like a lot of the stuff in there was repetitive in terms of what I was actually thinking about, and kind of a chore. And that's what I didn't like about it. I also think that the core concept is kind of difficult to think about in a way that, like, the puzzle rule set is kind of difficult to think about in a way that is maybe not great. I don't know. Maybe I would get used to it if I played the game a bit more. Yeah. There's interesting stuff in the game, and I like how crazy it is, but like structurally crazy, but I couldn't bring myself to keep playing it after a while. Fez I really liked at the time, but I've really soured on it. Uh, I I think I should put it in B tier though. I was so young when I played it that I don't know if it really fits with my current taste to put this in B tier at all. Like I almost want to put it in D, but because I actually did try to play it again because I've forgotten so much about it that I tried to play it again. So we'll consider my replay attempt as my experience with Fez. It takes so long to get going. Like, I mean, it gets straight to the point in terms of you get the Fez really quickly and get to the point where you're doing the crazy 3D world stuff very quickly. But that's actually not the part that I loved about the game. That's not the memorable part about the game for me. The memorable part is the post game, the crazy borderline ARG puzzles. This was the first game that really made me go full schizo in that kind of way, and I really admire it for that. But when I tried to play it again, I couldn't get past the base game. So we're gonna give it D, I think. Opus Magnum, I'm gonna give a C. I think it's a really good intro to Zachtronics, but yeah, I think if you can handle the harder Zachtronics games, you should start with Space Cam or TIS 100. It just doesn't have the depth. I don't know. I've heard that there's like crazy glitchy, the super ultra hardcore Opus Magnum community has figured out like ways to abuse the systems to make crazy stuff happen. So maybe that's interesting. Maybe it's interesting in a speedrunning, like, not a normal experience with the game kind of way, but normal experience with the game, I thought it was kind of not that interesting, pretty repetitive for Zachtronics standards. Yeah. I recommend it if you think TIS 100 or Space Cam or Shenzhen is too daunting or whatever. So you can at least see what the Zachtronics thing is all about. Tokitori. We'll start with Tokitori 1. I remember it being pretty bad. It's very old school puzzle design, like some of these other games I've talked about. And yeah, just super forgettable though. Tokitori 2 Plus, I wanted to like, but yeah, again, this was so long ago that, it's long enough ago that this Steam poster is like this format. Like it doesn't have a normal Steam poster. Yeah. I wish I remembered more about Tokitori 2 Plus because I remember thinking that it was interesting, like the structure of the game and the progression and stuff like that, but it also felt kind of time wasty. And the subject matter of the puzzles, I just didn't think was that interesting. Like the mechanics were just not that special. Obduction. I think Obduction is a B for me. It's kind of the follow-up to Riven many, many years later. And it definitely does not hit the highs of Riven because it's a lot easier, which you can't blame them for that. But yeah, I still enjoyed it a lot. The world was really compelling. It had a lot of new ideas. Yeah, it was just interesting. It didn't have as much to it as I would like. It didn't. I mean, it's maybe in some sense a bigger game than Riven, actually. Probably a bigger game than Myst. But yeah, because it's just pretty easy and you can kind of breeze through it, it doesn't feel like there's as much to it somehow. Yeah. Not as memorable as Riven, for sure. But I still like it. Steven Sausage Roll, definitely up there. Do you even have to talk about Steven Sausage Roll? Like what can I even say? Like it's Steven Sausage Roll. It's the most crazy, like super tight rule set leading to cascading series of consequences for the puzzles and for the possibility space, right? Like it starts you with the rules that seem so simple. Like, you surely will have to add new mechanics to keep this interesting as the game keeps going. And they add nothing. They just different arrangements of the levels bring out more and more possibilities in the puzzles and in the rule set and in the yeah. Just more and more. And it's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable. And it makes for really good puzzles a lot of the time, and it's really hard. I don't love the last stretch of the game, which is quite long, but you can just play the first half or whatever you want to call it of the game, and it's peak. And honestly, still a good game. Still an amazing game if you play it all the way through. Like it says a lot about how much I like the first half that I really don't have strong feelings about the second half, but I still think it's S tier easily. Okay, a few more. Outer Wilds. I'm including the DLC. Even if I didn't include the DLC, I like the DLC more, but even if I'm not including the DLC, it's S tier easily. There's just nothing else like it. You know, you kind of have to compare it to Riven because it's the same type of thing, right? And they're both amazing, but totally different in terms of why I like them. Like, yeah, maybe not totally different, but they just hit totally different vibes. The experience of Outer Wilds is a much more smooth, like, I mean, it's frustrating sometimes. There are setbacks and there are things that are challenging, but for the most part, at least for me, like it was very smooth. Even the DLC, which was harder, was a very smooth experience. It's like I'm going on it felt more like roller coaster ride through all these crazy ideas that the developers had and through this crazy thing that they've built. But it also, you also do get into the world, just not to the same degree as in Riven. But yeah, it's just a lot of amazing ideas that you don't see anywhere else and that couldn't possibly fit into most of these other puzzle games that I'm talking about. No, this is not more stuff in S tier. You forget that Jelly No Puzzle is the width of like 4 games. 3 games, I guess. Jelly counts as 3? It doesn't. It just doesn't. But yeah, I don't think anything else is going A tier, so... Anyway, Swapper, it's okay. It's okay. It's got a unique mechanic that I like, but I don't know, felt pretty forgettable. I don't think the mechanic is super suitable for like great puzzle designs. It's not conducive to amazing puzzle designs. So I think I'm going C. Did I include Oddworld? I don't know why I included Oddworld. Because again, it's one of these games that the appeal to me is not really the puzzles. Let me get to it, okay? Manifold Garden, I'm going C tier. I like the crazy secret thing that it does, but not enough. Mostly it's just a vibes game, I feel like. The puzzles are just there to facilitate you going through the vibes. And I would maybe rather just walking sim my way through the vibes. I don't know. I think I would maybe just like a harder version of the game, but I don't know how possible it is to do that with these mechanics. Maybe the mechanics just don't really work well with hard puzzles, but I think they kind of do, because I remember struggling with this part of the secret thing a little bit. Anyway, yeah, I wish they'd leaned more into the unhinged kind of structure. Like, visually, this is a crazy, mind-blowing type of game, but then structurally the game is kind of boring, and like gameplay-wise, what's happening in your head kind of boring a lot of the time. Yeah, I feel like they had an opportunity to make it crazy gameplay-wise and structurally as well. Which I guess structurally the secret thing does that a little bit, but yeah, overall disappointment for me. Oddworld, you gotta admire it. Really great game for the time. I haven't played Exodus, and I should. Yeah, I've only played the first one. I should play Exodus, but yeah, it's just a really special game. Yeah, I don't know how much I can say about it. It's been a while, but yeah, it's one of those old games, old games from that era often had great atmosphere, great world building and stuff like that, great presentation, but really, really fell flat on gameplay. And Oddworld is one of those few games that really that the gameplay held up well enough. Like Riven, I would put in that same category, but even more so. Yeah, the gameplay in Oddworld is pretty interesting. There's things about it that are like kind of jank, old game jank, but overall, really special game. Cosmic Express. Just the exact same thing that I've said about every other Dracnet game that's been in the C tier. Okay, that's easy. Creeks. Creeks is B tier. Yeah. And that's it. Creeks is B tier because so this is from Amanita Design, who are known for more point and click games, but this is much more. People don't even realize this. It's a systemic puzzle game. Like, it's a puzzle platformer with quote unquote real systemic puzzles. You know, like figuring out how to make deductions, use the interesting interactions between the different objects to do, you know, solve things. Like, it is totally that type of thing. And yeah, it's cool to see that kind of game get this type of design attention from a studio that's usually more about the visuals and stuff like that, the vibes, because it's a really great looking game. And they did this thing where I guess they really didn't want to have an undo or a reset the puzzle button or whatever. So like every puzzle is fully reversible. You cannot get into a situation with any puzzle where you can soft lock it, right, and have to reset, because there is no reset. They just didn't want to have a reset button. And that is a really crazy constraint to make a game with. So the fact, I don't think that really enhances my enjoyment of the game. It's just interesting. But it's interesting to me that they were still able to make a game that I thought was this good while operating under that constraint. Okay, that was way more exhausting than I I said that the reason that I wanted to do this week is to give myself a little bit of a break, but it ended up being kind of strenuous. But there we go, 100 puzzle games that I have played. Pretty happy with it. I think this makes sense. But yeah, unfortunately we spent forever talking about other stuff before I did this, so I don't think I am going to have time to do to play Oof. Let me show you the game. But yeah, this is what I was gonna play. I think maybe I might be too busy tomorrow. But yeah, this is new Stephen Lavelle joint, creator of Steven Sausage Roll and other interesting games. Yeah, could be interesting moving around as an egg. Could be uninteresting as well. We'll see. Oh, I'm just dreading some of this. But yeah, maybe I'll just hop on at some point during the week this week and play it. You really liked it? They're good custom levels? Yeah, they got surf. It seems French. Yeah. Well, listen, you gotta listen to this. Was that too quiet? Anyway, he says oof when he falls. Yeah. I will. You're in it? No, I will not give you the pleasure.
Hey! Alright, so are we gonna do a quick quick speed run? In order that we all sync up, I'm gonna go
Monkey Licka.
jump, and when I land, that's when it starts.
Okay.
Okay.
Not gonna make the joke that I'm thinking about right now. Okay, thanks for watching.
Jump, and when my third jump lands,
I will
start.
maybe be back with Oof Gaming, or I might try to append it to next stream. We'll see. We'll see. But this was a good one for sure. This was the longest stream I've done yet by quite a wide margin. And my voice is tired. All right. See you guys. See you guys next time.
Sort of tragedy of common stuff happening here.